Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
The White House today announcing significant changes for 500,000 illegal immigrants. How hundreds of thousands could be now on their way to eventually becoming U.S. citizens if they're eligible.
New Mexico wildfires force urgent evacuations. Residents are told to leave immediately as roads close and fires spread.
80% of the country will face temperatures at or above 90 degrees this week. Meanwhile, wildfires burn in California, and the first tropical storm watch of the season has been issued. We have the details.
Police say a Secret Service agent was robbed at gunpoint after President Biden's fundraiser in LA. They say he fired his weapon and was not injured, what we know so far.
The NATO Secretary General says a record number of allies are meeting defense spending goals this year. Highlights of his meeting with Biden and his plans for today.
Did COVID-19 leak from a lab? Today, a Senate committee will seek answers to the controversial question. We'll bring you that hearing.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
Some immigrants without legal status who are married to Americans can soon apply for permanent residency and eventually citizenship.
President Biden will speak about the new plans today. He's celebrating the 12th anniversary of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, also known as DACA.
To qualify for the new program, an immigrant must have lived in the U.S. for 10 years as of Monday and be married to an American citizen.
If approved, the individual would have 3 years to apply for a green card and receive a temporary work permit. They'd also be shielded from deportation in the meantime.
This could affect upwards of 500,000 immigrants. About 50,000 non-citizen children could also qualify if they have a parent who's married to an American.
President Biden is set to speak about the plans at around 3 p.m. today. A federal judge is temporarily blocking Iowa from enforcing a contested new immigration law. The policy would prohibit immigrants who have been denied entry into the U.S. to step foot into Iowa. If they do, local judges would have the power to order their return to their country of origin. A district judge wrote in a decision yesterday the law is preempted in its entirety by federal law and thus is invalid under the Supremacy Clause. The Supremacy Clause of the U.S. Constitution says federal laws generally have more power than state laws. The judge's decision confirms claims by the Department of Justice. The department brought one of multiple lawsuits saying Iowa's policy conflicts with federal immigration statutes. Iowa's Attorney General says she'll appeal the decision in order to keep the state's communities safe.
And residents of a village in southern New Mexico were ordered to evacuate immediately as a fast-moving wildfire threatened homes.
Officials in Ruidoso urged residents yesterday to leave without gathering belongings. The town is home to 7,000 people.
Power was shut off to some 2,000 homes and businesses as the fire grew to at least 2 square miles. Hot ash was reported falling in nearby communities, with authorities urging people to call 911 if they spot flames.
State police reported phone outages that could impact emergency responses. As of this morning, the blaze, covering over 8 square miles, was 0% contained. It threatened multiple structures.
A portion of U.S. Highway 70 was closed as the fire spread.
The South Fork fire, which started on the Mescalero Apache Reservation, prompted a state of emergency. A second fire, called the Salt Fire, has burned over 4 square miles with no containment.
Next, over 260 million people in the U.S. will face temperatures at or above 90 degrees this week. That's 80% of the country.
The temperatures expected don't even factor in humidity, which will make it feel even hotter, of course.
The National Weather Service said yesterday multi-day excessive heat is expected to tie or break temperature records in up to 200 cities across the country. Authorities say temperatures are 10 to 25 degrees higher than normal for this time of year. New York City is preparing for temperatures that may feel like up to 107 degrees.
The first heat wave of the season is here and we are ready. We want to be clear, this is extremely hot for June.
People in Pennsylvania are coping with the heat by visiting public pools, enjoying ice cream, and adapting their activities to the weather.
When we have a hot spell like this, make a few minor changes, less yard work, more work inside. Today we're at the community center walking, whereas we normally would walk outside in a park or at a lake or something like that. So we just made minor changes, just making sure that you stay hydrated, pets are hydrated, air conditioning works, and you just kind of ride it out.
The culprit behind this weather is a heat dome covering much of the country. A heat dome occurs when hot air is trapped under high pressure, creating extreme heat as if under a lid. This happens when strong high-pressure systems remain stationary for an extended period.
I don't really like the hot, so this is going to be very painful for me, but I'm going to have to do what I have to do.
Others are enjoying the heat.
I welcome the heat. It really hasn't impacted my daily routine in a negative way. It gives me opportunity to get out and do some things in the yard and around the house.
I'm enjoying it. I like the heat. I just wish I had a pool to enjoy the heat more.
Animals aren't immune to the hot weather. In Phoenix, zookeepers take special precautions to keep animals safe in temperatures that could top 110 degrees.
So the way I see it, as soon as we start feeling uncomfortable, that's probably when it's time to start misting them down. These guys will have a little higher heat tolerance than your average person, but even so, they're not immune to the effects of heat. So just as often as possible.
Officials across the country are advising people to stay hydrated, limit strenuous activity in the sun, and wear lightweight clothing. Temperatures are expected to remain elevated in large swaths of the country until the weekend.
And the first tropical storm watch of the hurricane season has been issued for southern Texas and Mexico. The National Hurricane Center says the system in the southwest Gulf of Mexico is a potential tropical cyclone one. That means winds under 100 miles per hour. It's forecast to bring heavy rain and coastal flooding from Louisiana to Texas and into Mexico in the coming days.
The Weather Channel says flash flooding is possible in Brownsville, Corpus Christi, Houston, and San Antonio. Rainfall could reach up to 8 inches. The Hurricane Center expects the system to become a tropical storm by Wednesday. If the system strengthens to tropical storm level, it will become the first named storm of the season. The first name on the list for this season is Alberto.
And moving to the Middle East now, at least one person was wounded and 9 arrested yesterday in Jerusalem. That's after anti-government protesters clashed with police near Prime Minister Netanyahu's Jerusalem home.
NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on that and the latest from the country's war with the Hamas terror group.
In Jerusalem, protesters demanding new elections rallied outside the Knesset on Monday before marching to Prime Minister Netanyahu's home. They waved Israeli flags and carried signs criticizing Netanyahu's handling of a controversial military draft bill and the war with Hamas. Some tried to breach police barriers, prompting officers to use water cannons to disperse the crowd. In related news, State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's dissolution of the war cabinet did not change the Biden administration's fundamental assessment of the war in Gaza.
We'll continue to have the very direct and candid conversations with members of the Israeli government as we have for some time.
Miller also addressed a tactical pause recently announced by the IDF, saying the U.S. very much welcomed the move. The pause in fighting is along a route in southern Gaza to allow more aid into the territory.
This new initiative, which began on Saturday, allows international organizations to move on the route without having to first coordinate. This gives them greater flexibility, and we hope to see it increase the amount of aid making its way to the humanitarian zone.
But on Monday, the Israeli military said the United Nations wasn't fully utilizing the new protected road.
So far, we haven't seen the UN take full advantage of this step.
Israeli Army spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari also addressed aid distribution in Gaza.
We're urging again the international organizations to do their job and to make sure that this stuff that are outside here will be distributed to the people of Gaza.
Also in the region, the White House on Monday announced new sanctions against those involved with the weapons procurement network of Yemen's Houthi rebels.
The Houthis are causing needless suffering across the entire region for Gazans, for the Sudanese, for the Yemenis themselves. And as I said, this is pure terrorism. There's simply no other word for it.
The sanctions come after 2 Houthi maritime attacks on commercial vessels in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. The White House says the ships had nothing whatsoever to do with the conflict in Gaza. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And coming up, Senate Leader Chuck Schumer says the Senate will seek a national ban on bump stocks as soon as today. That's after the Supreme Court lifted a ban on the gun attachment last week.
And New Jersey Attorney General charges a Democratic power broker with racketeering. More on the accusations, including his response, when we come back.
Hey everyone, it's me, Sebastian, and it is a beautiful day today. We have so much to be grateful for, so just remember, if you see someone without a smile, give them one of yours. I just love inspiring people to be the best they can be, and the reason I'm able to inspire so many people is because people like you who inspire me with your support of Shriners Hospitals for Children. Since I was little, I've broken 100 bones, and I've had 19 surgeries. Shriners Hospitals for Children was with me every step of the way. But more than that, they've given me the confidence to know I can do whatever I set my mind to. Like right now, I've set my mind to sharing my smile with you. Did you get it?
Because of people like you, I can play the violin.
I can play piano.
I can understand.
The help I get is only possible because of caring people like you who pick up the phone and call the number on your screen to make your monthly gift.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Kids like me.
And me.
And me.
And me. So what are you waiting for? You can inspire kids like me by visiting loveshriners.org. After all, you can't help everyone, but you can help someone. So let's go!
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving. Join me and bring a smile to the world with your monthly gift today.
Please call now. If operators are busy, please call again or go to loveshriners.org right away.
Join me and bring a smile to the world.
Do you know that Cars for Compassion is the best way to donate your car? Through this non-profit program, you can not only help us keep bringing the world independent and daringly truthful journalism, but also significantly impact the life of somebody who needs a vehicle. The Epoch Times fights misinformation and big tech censorship by being independent and unbound to advertisers. Every single contribution to Cars for Compassion is a powerful endorsement of our unwavering mission. All you have to do is go to carsforcompassion.org and let us know about your car, and we'll schedule a pickup time and email you a tax-deductible receipt. To do this, just click the link below, support truth, compassion, and hope. Donate your car right now at www.carsforcompassion.org.
My graduation was something I will never forget. People like you and me sometimes may have doubts in ourselves, but I feel that everything's possible.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Join us on NTD Good Morning because we want you to stay informed.
Kickstart your morning with the latest you missed overnight.
Right, and don't forget that inspiration.
Absolutely, so let's shine some light on the good news too.
Tune in every weekday morning to NTD News.
Welcome back. Senate Leader Chuck Schumer says the Senate will try to pass a national ban on bump stocks this week. The gun accessory allows semi-automatic weapons to fire at a faster rate. This after the Supreme Court struck down a ban on the gun attachment last week.
Passing a bill banning bump stocks should be the work of 5 minutes. Most Americans support this step. Poll after poll show that a majority of people, including independents, support restrictions on AR-15 style rifles, which is what bump stocks are designed to emulate.
The Supreme Court ruled last Friday the Trump administration overstepped its authority with a bump stock ban in 2019.
Schumer says senators will try to pass a federal ban on bump stocks as soon as today. He urged Republicans not to block the bill when it comes to the floor.
And police say a Secret Service agent was robbed at gunpoint after President Biden's fundraiser in Los Angeles. The Secret Service said the agent fired his service weapon during the incident but did not sustain any injuries. Police say the suspect attacked the agent at around 9:30 p.m. Pacific time Saturday after Biden returned to his hotel following his fundraising event.
The suspect reportedly stole the agent's bag. Police are on the lookout for a silver Infiniti FX35 or a similar looking vehicle.
The police department said there's no threat to the public. They located some of the agent's belongings in the area.
It's unknown if the suspect was injured after the agent fired his gun. Next, New Jersey's Attorney General has charged Democratic power broker George Norcross with racketeering and several other charges. Norcross is accused of threatening people and orchestrating tax incentives to benefit organizations he controlled.
An indictment was unsealed Monday, and New Jersey Attorney General Matt Platkin announced the charges at a news conference in Trenton. Norcross, who was present at the time, denounced the charges. He demanded a speedy trial.
I want to go to trial in 2 weeks. We are prepared. They will delay. They will have all kinds of excuses of why they won't do this, because this is all about a smear campaign.
In the 111-page indictment, the Attorney General alleges Norcross and 5 co-defendants used their political influence to craft legislation that served their own interests. The indictment says the scheme reached back to 2012. It accuses Norcross of threatening a developer who would not give up the rights to a waterfront property in Camden. The indictment cites a phone recording of Norcross in which he allegedly tells the developer he will face enormous consequences. The indictment also says Norcross and the co-defendants extorted and coerced businesses with property rights on Camden's waterfront and obtained tax incentive credits, which they then sold for millions of dollars.
Through a series of criminal acts alleged in the state's case, the Norcross enterprise took the Camden waterfront all for themselves. As George Norcross himself allegedly said, quote, "This is for our friends."
Norcross's lawyer accuses the AG of having a vendetta against Norcross. He said the waterfront development had been investigated for years by several agencies. He said all of them came up with nothing. Norcross was a Democratic National Committee member until 2021. He previously served as the head of the Camden County Democratic Party. He is widely viewed among the most influential unelected Democrats in New Jersey.
And next, Hunter Biden's legal team filed and then withdrew a motion for a fresh trial yesterday. A note on the docket website says the motion has been deleted at the request of counsel. Lawyer Abe Lowell wrote in the motion that the court which found Hunter Biden guilty lacked jurisdiction. He argued 2 appeals in the case are still pending, and it was not within the federal court's power to proceed with the trial.
But the motion was quickly withdrawn without comment. Lowell's office did not yet respond to questions from the media.
Last week, a jury found Hunter Biden guilty of making a false statement to buy a gun, among several charges.
Hunter Biden faces a maximum sentence of 25 years in prison, but it is unlikely he will face this penalty as a first-time offender. A legal battle over abortion access in the South. A federal judge grants a request from the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops and Employers in 2 southern states. They don't have to comply with a federal rule requiring them to provide abortion-related accommodations for workers. Judge David Joseph issued a preliminary injunction in lawsuits brought by Louisiana and Mississippi attorneys general and Catholic entities. The lawsuits challenged rules issued in April by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or EEOC. The rules state that abortions are among pregnancy-related conditions covered by the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, which passed in December 2022. Mississippi and Louisiana officials argue that EEOC mandate conflicts with state abortion laws. The EEOC defended its regulations, stating they align with anti-discrimination laws and allow for case-by-case accommodations.
Singer Justin Timberlake is in police custody in Long Island, New York, for allegedly driving while intoxicated. Sag Harbor police say he was arrested Monday night. People magazine reports he was arrested shortly after he left a dinner at the American Hotel. The NSYNC member had a court appearance Tuesday morning. Timberlake is currently touring for his most recent album, Everything I Thought It Was. It's the first time in 5 years the pop star has gone on tour. He's scheduled to perform in Chicago at the United Center on Friday. The Grammy-winning boy band star, solo artist, and movie star is 43 years old.
Consumers pulled back on spending last month. Retail sales rose just 0.1% in May, according to the Commerce Department. That's below economists' expectations. Sales declined the most at gas stations, furniture stores, and shops that sell building materials and garden equipment. Meanwhile, spending was the strongest at specialty stores that sell sporting goods, books, and musical instruments. The slower than expected sales come as consumers continue to deal with high inflation and elevated interest rates.
And coming up, in a letter published by North Korean state media, Russian President Putin promises North Korea trade and security.
And the security situation in Germany remains tense. What a new report found about threats from China, Russia, and also from within the country. That and more when we return with NTD News.
Hi, folks. Do you trust this economy? What if you could receive a strong fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed? And what if you were in control? You could turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose. What if your interest was compounded daily, you were paid monthly, and there were absolutely no fees? And what if you could have peace of mind because there was no attack on your principal if you ever needed your money back? Well, folks, there is an investment with all of these features. Investors all over the country are earning a high fixed rate of return with YRefi, and they don't care about what happens with the stock market or the Fed. And best of all, they receive their statement every month with no surprises. Would you like some more information? Just call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST. Or log on to investyrrefi.com. That's investyrrefi.com. YRefi, do well by doing good.
When I started MyPillow, it was just a problem solution, one product company. Well, since then, with the help of my dedicated employees, we now have hundreds of products, some you might not even know about. To get the word out, we're having a $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And for the first time ever, our 6-pack towel sets, you guessed it, just $25. Our brand new 4-pack dish towels, $25. And I've never done this before. Premium MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size for only $25. And there's so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code for our $25 extravaganza. Order $75 and over. Your entire order ships absolutely free.
My dad's name was David. He always talked about getting life insurance, and now it's too late.
No one was expecting my husband Dave to suffer from a heart attack. We didn't have life insurance. We thought we had more time.
Don't be Dave, and don't wait until it's too late to get the life insurance coverage you need. And if you don't have enough insurance to cover funeral costs, credit card debt, and other expenses, your family is going to get stuck with the bill. Call now to get affordable life insurance.
Just call
800-494-1562.
If you're over 50, you can't be turned down for this insurance, regardless of your health. Plus, there's no medical exam, no health questions. Your rate will never go up. Your coverage will never go down. And rates start as low as $5 a week. Remember, don't be Dave. Call now.
Call now.
800-494-1562.
Hi, I'm Kelly Wright. We thank you for joining us and watching America's Hope here on NTD News. Bottom line is, I know you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, but let's give you some good news in the midst of the bad news. Watch us nightly right here on NTD News for a full dose of America's hope.
Welcome back. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg says a record number of allies are hitting defense spending goals this year. He says NATO will continue to bring Ukraine closer to membership.
The NATO chief is in Washington ahead of next month's 75th NATO summit. Stoltenberg will meet Secretary of State Antony Blinken today. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more on his visit and yesterday's meeting with President Biden.
President Biden on Monday said NATO is facing one of the most consequential moments for Europe since World War II. He thanked NATO Chief Jens Stoltenberg for his leadership, saying together they've made NATO larger, stronger, and more united than it's ever been. Stoltenberg says new numbers show more than 20 allies doubled defense spending over the last 4 years. He says 23 of 32 NATO members will meet the goal of spending at least 2% of GDP on defense this year.
And demonstrates that European allies and Canada are really stepping up and taking their share of the common responsibility to protect all of us in the NATO alliance.
Stoltenberg said only 3 NATO members, the US, Greece, and the UK, met the 2% of GDP goal when leaders set the target in 2014. He says the boost in military spending started with Russia's seizure of Crimea.
We must ensure that Putin's aggression doesn't pay off, today or in the future. That is why, at the summit, we will continue to bring Ukraine ever closer to NATO membership, so that when the time is right, Ukraine can join without delay.
The NATO chief warned a delay of US aid cannot be allowed to happen again. He told reporters the best way to achieve peace is to strengthen Ukraine's military capabilities.
So they can negotiate from a position of strength and ensure that Ukraine prevails and survives as a sovereign independent nation.
Stoltenberg says allies are buying more military equipment from the U.S. and that NATO is good for U.S. security, but also good for U.S. jobs. NATO members agreed last year to spend at least 2% of their GDP on defense. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has promised trade and security systems with North Korea that the West does not control. The Russian leader pledges his unwavering support in letters published by North Korean state media today, ahead of his planned visit to the country.
Putin's letter said, quote, "We will develop alternative mechanisms of trade and mutual settlements that are not controlled by the West and jointly resist illegitimate unilateral restrictions. And at the same time," he added, "we will build an architecture of equal and indivisible security in Eurasia." He also thanked North Korea for supporting what Russia calls its special military operation in Ukraine and vowed support for Pyongyang's efforts to defend its interests despite what he called, quote, U.S. pressure, blackmail, and military threats. There have been some signs pointing to what's on the agenda for Putin when he visits. Commercial satellite imagery taken ahead of the visit showed preparations for a possible military parade in downtown Pyongyang. Russian media said there will be one-on-one discussions between Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. And Putin's foreign policy advisor said Russia and North Korea may sign a partnership agreement during the visit that would include security issues. U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller repeated charges this week that North Korea had supplied weapons to Russia for use in Ukraine. Moscow and Pyongyang have denied arms transfers. After North Korea, Putin is set to spend another 2 days in Vietnam.
And now we have some short headlines from the UK, Germany, and other European countries. The Russian Navy is planning a 10-day drill in the Pacific Ocean. The exercises are starting today and will take place in the Sea of Japan and the Sea of Okhotsk.
Russia published video of naval vessels leaving port in Russia's far east and heading out to the open sea. The drills involve about 40 ships, boats, and support vessels.
Around 20 naval aircraft and helicopters also. This includes long-range anti-submarine aircraft as well as search and rescue helicopters. German officials say the security situation in the country remains tense. They're highlighting threats ranging from foreign espionage to internal extremism.
The country's domestic intelligence agency released an annual report on the protection of the Constitution today.
It found that Russia, China, and Iran in particular, used their intelligence services for espionage against Germany in 2023.
Russian actors allegedly planned sabotage operations to undermine Germany's support for Ukraine recently.
8 suspects in the German Citizens of the Reich coup went on trial in Munich today.
They hold that the German democracy of today is an illegitimate facade and that they are citizens of a monarchy. The monarchy was formally abolished after Germany's defeat in World War I.
The court spokesman said the defendants in the Munich trial are accused of taking on various roles within a council.
They allegedly wanted to set up the council over Germany if their coup was successful. The 8 defendants are among a total of 26 facing trial this year.
British actor Ian McKellen is recovering after falling off a stage mid-performance last night.
The 85-year-old is part of a William Shakespeare play. He lost his footing and fell off the front of the stage during a fight scene. McKellen cried out as staff rushed to help.
The show was canceled and the actor was taken to a hospital. The theater says McKellen is now resting and the play will resume tomorrow.
The actor is best known for playing Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings. He was also Magneto in the X-Men movies. You know those health warnings you see on cigarettes? The Surgeon General just announced he wants them added to social media apps. He says they can be as dangerous for kids as tobacco. Mandating such warnings takes action from Congress, but the Surgeon General says parents need to act now. Here's his advice for protecting children and teens.
We have to warn parents about what we are seeing in the data.
The U.S. Surgeon General is calling on Congress to put warning labels on social media apps. Vivek Murthy says he's worried about children and teens in particular. He says they face health risks from social media as profound as those from tobacco and alcohol.
This warning label is part of a broader strategy to help address the harms that we are seeing associated with social media for our kids.
Multiple experts and studies link social media to depression, bullying, harassment, and even suicide in some young people. The Surgeon General suggests parents keep kids off social media until at least high school. Reassess then based on maturity, create technology-free zones and times of day, and work with other parents on shared rules. That way, healthy choices about screen time don't make some kids feel left out.
It is our moral responsibility as a society to take care of our kids. And when it comes to social media, we are not doing well.
Just yesterday, another report came out that suggests a link between screen time and anxiety. In it, about a quarter of parents report their 1 to 6-year-old kids have issues with sleep. The study shows a factor could be media use around bedtime.
And joining us now to discuss the Surgeon General's latest announcement is Melanie Hempy, the founder and president of ScreenStrong, an organization dedicated to helping families navigate through screen addiction, whether it's TV, social media, gaming, and find a better balance on the other side. Melanie, good to have you with us. To begin with,
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to get straight into this. How bad is the impact of social media on youth, and does it warrant a warning label in your view?
Absolutely. We've been saying this for years, so I was thrilled to see this headline. I am a nurse, and our organization has been around for almost 10 years, and absolutely the truth has not changed around this. And so there really is the dopamine, right? So there's too much dopamine when a child is on a screen. And then, of course, you've got all the content, and you have time, just the sheer amount of time that they're spending. We know that there are behavioral changes. Every parent knows this. If you have children who are on their screens a lot, you know they act really different when you get them off because they're kind of stressed and they're anxious. And honestly, you and I also are very stressed and anxious when we get off our screens. This is nothing unusual. So there needs to be really a warning sign. I think is fabulous. A warning label, but there also needs to be parents banding together, just like he said in the article. And we need to come together and just say, hey, we're going to skip this. And so that's what ScreenStrong is here to educate parents. But you know what we're doing that is so exciting this year is we have a whole brand new program for kids to educate kids, because we find that it's so much easier to explain the dangers to them when they actually know a little bit of the science behind it. So we have a new Kids, Brains, and Screens curriculum for kids, and we are so thrilled. It just came out 2 months ago. It's called Kids, Brains, and Screens, and we're actually getting it into middle schools, and we're helping parents understand how to educate their kids. So absolutely, yes. 100% yes, there should be more awareness around this.
Yeah, that's great. And that's another aspect of Screen Strong, because as I understand it, you're a registered nurse, and part of this is about making the science behind all of this more communicable, more understood. So what is some of that in terms of the youth and the impact that social media has on them in terms of the science?
Well, the science tells us that their brain development isn't up to par. So their frontal cortex isn't quite developed yet, right? They don't know how to determine what's good for them and what's not good for them. That's why they have parents. And that's why we have medical people to help us understand this. So first of all is the development part, right? And the second thing is this chemical changes that are happening when a child is on a screen. I don't think most parents understand that. I don't think they understand that when they're introducing social media, they're actually changing the brain chemistry of their child's brain. And so that affects their emotion. And we know that when we have a high dopamine experience with something, we can't stay on that high forever. So we have to come down. So with a child, when they're on social media and they're on it for 4 or 5 hours a day, they're very excitable. Their limbic area is all wound up. And at some point they have to come down. And so this is where the depression comes. The depression comes in from that dip of dopamine. It also comes in from what they're seeing on the screen. And then also the persuasive design. So when you start to explain some of this to a child, especially to a child around 10, 11, 12, they're like, hey, wait a minute, that makes sense. That is what's happening to me. So it's just like smoking. We have to explain to kids what happens to their lungs when they smoke. It's very, very similar to that. And that's what I am so excited to get this education out there. And yes, I think warning labels are great, but we need much more than that. We need parents to say, hey, we're going to skip this. And I'll be honest, I don't know of too many activities we have in our kids' life that we think is okay, that we have to have warning labels. So like Legos, we don't put warning labels on Legos or reading books. So maybe we need to rethink, just when we're introducing this. And that's what Screen Strong is all about. And that's what our new course is about. And we're helping kids really understand the science behind it. So it's not like a mom is just being mean or dad's being mean. We're saying, oh, no, we're learning all this research, guys, and we need to follow this. And so we actually believe that kids do not need to be on social media at all. Social media was never designed for teenagers. It's a marketing strategy. It's fine for that, but it's not fine for kids. It's not.
Yeah, so information is power, and just letting them decide rationally sounds like a great approach. Now, this is a bipartisan issue that both state governments and the federal government are getting behind in terms of the labeling and this push to protect youth from social media. How can we better work together as a country, do you think, to create effective change?
I think we have to start with education, and that's why we spend all of the hours in our day over here at Screen Strong with education. We want to educate teachers, we want to educate school administrators, of course, parents and students, but then we also want to provide that community. So I think we need more education on the science of what happens to our brain when we're on a screen. I know there's a lot of other issues that we could spend our time on, but we find the most success when children, teenagers, and parents understand, they have some common language around this. It is an addictive activity. No one can deny that. So we need to start calling it what it is. And we know with every single addictive activity, the best way to solve the problem and the best way to pause that addiction is to actually remove access. And I know a lot of parents think, well, technology is here to stay, so my kid has to be on all this or they won't have any friends. And that's not true. That's not true. We find that Screen Strong kids have many more friends than kids who just live on social media. And we have podcasts every week where we talk about this. I think there's a lot of myths out there. So we need to educate on the science, and we need to dispel the myths that it is impossible, right, to raise your kids without having social media. It is not impossible. It is very possible. It is the most healthy approach to this issue. And it's just going to get worse if we don't do anything about it. So I really believe education is the key, and actually taking action to saying, no, we're going to skip social media during the teenage years. And I mean, all the way through high school. They do not need social media. They will have plenty of friends when they're in person, making eye-to-eye contact with people, and they'll be so much healthier, and their mental health will be so much stronger if we do that.
And plenty of science backing that up, as you said. Thank you so much, Melanie Hempe, founder and president of Screen Strong. Really appreciate all of your input here.
Thank you. Thanks.
And coming up, where did COVID-19 come from? The question has become the source of much controversy, and it could change U.S.-China relations. We bring you a Senate hearing focused on answers.
And a 7-time basketball champion was unstoppable at the peak of his basketball career. Now he's a healthcare advocate. Find out why when we return after this short break.
I'm Ilka. I live with my daughter and with my grandchildren. There's a sense of comfort that comes with eating a good meal. We try to make the most, of what we have. We have rent to pay, and then there are lights and there are gas. And while my daughter and I both work, it still just doesn't seem like there's enough to go around sometimes.
Every day, millions of our neighbors face hunger, including 1 in 5 children, and food costs keep rising. Please call or go online right now to join Feeding America with your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Your monthly support can fill plates with nutritious food for families across the country and in your community, thanks to a nationwide network of food banks and volunteers.
If you were over and playing with us, you were part of our family and you were going to eat. A real cook can take nothing and make something.
No one should ever have to wonder if they will have enough to eat, and our neighbors are working hard to feed their families every day. Call or go online now. Visit helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month. 98% of donations go directly to help millions of people facing hunger from coast to coast and in your own community. Use your credit card and you'll get this exclusive canvas grocery bag as a thank you for joining hands with people across America to help end hunger.
Some of the lessons that I hope that my family will take, it is important to treat people the way that you want to be treated. I have carried on the tradition of loving people through food.
Please call right now or go online to make a monthly gift at helpfeedingamerica.org. Your support helps our neighbors bring food home to their families.
Freedom is not free, and neither is the truth. In order to bring you the facts, our reporters are out there on the front lines getting the true story. Some of them served 10 years of prison in China. We've been censored on social media. Our Hong Kong printing offices were set on fire, and we've been repeatedly attacked by the Chinese Communist Party. But no matter what, we believe that you deserve the truth, and so we'll continue to bring the truth to light. Head on over to getepic.com and try honest journalism that is based in truth and tradition. We'd love to have you on board.
Presenting the heritage of traditional Chinese martial arts, fostering martial ethics, and reviving the true tradition. Preliminaries of the 2024 NTD International Traditional Chinese Martial Arts Competition will be held across Germany, Taiwan, and New York. The grand finals will be broadcast live online worldwide in September 2024. For more information, please call 1-888-477-9228.
I'm Iris Powell at the White House, and we are NTD.
Welcome back. Did COVID-19 leak from a lab? Republican Senator Rand Paul calls this one of the most critical and debated questions of our time.
The Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee will examine this question today.
Rand Paul is the ranking member of that committee, chaired by Democratic Senator Gary Peters.
We'll cover part of that hearing right now. Watch.
The intelligence community has looked at that point very intently and has not been able to determine that Wuhan had the virus. We don't have the evidence from the Chinese. It's just one of the many things that we're missing that we would like to get from the Chinese government.
Based on the bat coronavirus that we know that researchers in the Wuhan lab are working on, would it have been possible for them to create this virus? Is it possible?
Not from a bat coronavirus. If you take the time to read my written testimony, I'm going to, in that document, I went through a lot of evidence that this virus did not spill over directly from a bat to a human being. It had to go through an intermediate animal. And it's not just the evidence from the non-market. There's other genetic evidence. The bat coronaviruses are viruses that are spread by the gastrointestinal route. For a virus like this to become a respiratory virus is just going to require too many mutations, too many changes for a bat virus to spill directly over to a human being. That could only really happen in nature with replication through an intermediate animal.
Very good. Dr. Kobletz, next question's for you. I'm aware that through FOIA request, a lot of information from U.S. agencies and U.S.-based organizations have been obtained by people investigating the COVID-19 origins. However, it seems as though we've gotten relatively little or nothing from Chinese agencies or the Wuhan Institute of Virology specifically. So my question for you, sir, is what specific information from China would be most helpful in settling this origin debate?
Thank you, Senator. There's a range of information that would be useful for furthering our investigation of the origins of the pandemic. The Chinese government has collected lots of information about the samples that were both at Hunan Market and elsewhere in Wuhan and in other provinces where they sampled animals, but they haven't released the raw data. They've provided information, but not the data that epidemiologists, virologists have wanted to see in order to do their own analyses. Just last year, they did release more information through publications, but this is information they've been sitting on for quite a while. So there is more information that should be released and should be made, the raw data available to independent outside experts to make their own assessments. In terms of the Wuhan Institute of Virology, there should be records about the research they're conducting. There should be records about the medical surveillance they're performing on their researchers, records on the maintenance operation of their biocontainment equipment, and all that, those documentations would be, could be reviewed by outside experts to determine if there's any signs that there was any accidents or any indications that there was, the virus was, made an escape from the lab. So there is quite a bit of information that's available, but obviously the Chinese government has chosen to be opaque about what they have and what they know in a way that has frustrated people involved with looking at this in terms of assessing both the natural zoonotic spillover pathway and also looking at the lab accident pathway.
Dr. Gary, you talked about the virus jumping from an animal into a human, and we've heard the term spillover. For the benefit of this committee, could you explain spillover?
In fact, most human diseases have come to us from animals. When we're talking about a spillover, we're talking about a cross-species transmission from one animal species to another. I mean, it could be another animal, but usually when we talk about spillover, we're talking about from an animal to a human. So animals have their own viruses, just like we do. The ones that are dangerous in the animals, though, are the ones that have the capacity to infect more than one species. You can think about a virus like rabies that can infect a wide range of mammalian hosts.
So do we know what animal or animals could have carried this virus, and were they at the market? Explain that more fully, please.
Sure. We don't know that for sure. What we do know is that when you look for the virus in the market on environmental surfaces and various places, you found it mostly in the southwest corner of the market. This is where the wildlife was sold. The animals like the raccoon dogs or the masked palm civets. And in fact, there were many of the samples there had SARS-CoV-2 and DNA and RNA from those animals right there in the same sample. You could imagine somebody maybe came and sneezed on that sample, but the most likely explanation is that animals were in fact infected themselves with SARS-CoV-2. When you look at the drains outside of that one stall that had the most SARS-CoV-2, that drain also had virus. So it's we don't have the smoking gun evidence that, there was actually an infected animal in the market, but I think we have the next best thing with this forensic molecular biology.
Very good, thank you. Ranking Member Paul, you're recognized for your questions.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to submit statements for the record from U.S. Right to Know, Open the Books, America First Legal, Frontiers of Freedom, and Dr. Alina Chan.
Without objection.
So just in the last few minutes, Dr. Gary has told us that this couldn't have come from bats. It had to go through an intermediate host. That may well be true, but arguing against that is they tested 90,000 some odd animals, and there is no animal host that's been found. But what he also doesn't tell you is the animal host could be a laboratory animal. It could be passed serially through that, and that's one way of quickly adapting and pushing natural selection to adapt a virus towards humans. Dr. Alina Chan has written extensively about this, how this virus didn't show up clunky and poorly transmissible. This virus showed up immediately very transmissible in humans as if it had been pre-adapted in a lab. Dr. Ebright, Dr. Gary tells us that he's wedded to the scientific method and that he considered all the different possibilities in proximal origins. I know you're a professor, and I'm assuming you've been the senior author on many papers. I assume that you teach your younger researchers what is good scientific method and not good scientific method. In the abstract of proximal origins, Dr. Gary and his fellow authors state categorically that the virus is not a laboratory construct. That doesn't sound to me like open-mindedness, and I wonder what you would tell a younger researcher or someone you're instructing in the scientific method about putting categorical statements into a scientific paper.
Well, it's important to emphasize that the paper in question, Proximal Origin of SARS-CoV-2, published in March 2020, was not a research article. It was an opinion piece. It was published as a commentary, which is the section in the journal that holds opinion pieces and editorials. So it was an opinion piece. The authors were stating their opinion. But that opinion was not well-founded. In March of 2020, there was no basis to state that as a conclusion, as opposed to simply being a hypothesis. Moreover, we know that compelling evidence has been presented as a result of congressional inquiry in the House that 4 of the authors of that paper, Dr. Anderson, Dr. Gary, Dr. Holmes, and Dr. Rambeau, in their private communications, show clearly that they knew the conclusion that they stated in that article was invalid. So, in terms of what I would tell a younger scientist I would be mentoring, I would tell a younger scientist that you do not state a conclusion without evidence, even in an opinion piece in a scientific journal. And you never, under any circumstances in a scientific journal, state conclusions that you know to be unsound. That represents scientific misconduct. It represents scientific misconduct up to and including fraud. And the paper in question, the Proximal Origin paper, has been recommended for review of retraction. 2 requests, one in 2023 and one in 2024, were submitted by teams of scientists to the journal in question, to the journal editors, asking them to add an editorial expression of concern and to initiate a review for retraction of the article.
I know of no other example in modern scientific history or publications where a publication has come forward pronouncing with such authority that the lab leak is implausible, it is not a laboratory construct, while privately saying, this is no friggin' conspiracy theory, looks like it, I'm 90-10, I'm 50-50. But no doubt in the paper. In fact, we know that it went back and forth with Dr. Fauci and with editors who say, we want the statements to be stronger, we want the conclusions to be stronger.
And next, Robert Horry was unstoppable at the peak of his basketball career, which began in the early 90s. Nicknamed Big Shot Bob, he earned 7 NBA championship rings. Now he's working on another title, healthcare advocate.
Robert Horry's oldest child, Ashlyn, was born with a rare genetic disorder. She died in 2011 at the age of 17.
My daughter was born with health issues. She had what was called 1p36 deletion syndrome, which is meaning she's missing part of her first chromosome. And so with that in mind, it was great while I was playing because the NBA took care of you 100%. But when I retired, it's like, okay, what am I going to do now?
Even with his fame and fortune, Ori was shocked by the challenges of navigating the U.S. healthcare system.
And people think because you have the means, you have the funds, you have the status, that everything is easy. We had to battle. And for me, I had other frustrations dealing with the NBA and then coming home to a sick daughter, not knowing if she's going to make it or she had to rush her to the hospital. So
Ori's medical bills were taken care of as long as he was playing professional basketball. But he knows other families aren't so fortunate.
And I've seen people go through my situation that didn't have the funds that I've had, didn't have the backing that I had. So it was hard to watch, parents, look at their child and have to make a hard decision. Like, do I stick around or do I leave my child in care of the system and hope that they can, pay for their bills?
Ori has teamed up with SureCo, a healthcare and insurance technology company. They allow employees to choose their own health plans from the individual market based on their budget and personal needs.
People are hearing about Robert's story and understand that now there is another option. They can actually do something, whereas before, they were at the mercy of what was provided to them. They can make choices, they can engage, and they can understand what fits them, and then go out and find it through this model.
SureCo co-founder Eric Wissig hopes Ori's personal experiences will help educate millions of Americans.
For round-the-clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app.
And stay with us. We'll bring you more news in the next 2 hours.
Looking for a healthy and smooth-tasting brew? Drop by Days Coffee Roasters today and explore our wide selection of specialty-grade, small-batch roasted coffee. Home to North America's first enzyme-fermented coffee, we source a wide selection of specialty-grade coffee beans from around the world, and our baristas are ready to craft your customized brew. Visit Days Coffee at 28 North Street, Middletown, New York. Come experience a brew like no other.
Adopting you was the best decision in our life. And I am so proud to call you my son.
There's a whirlwind of emotion and activity going on in this painting. And there's chaos all around and threat from below. The wolves surrounding her, and they're anything but unmoved. They're moving all the time, and we sense that. But this little girl remains unmoved.
She's in quite a perilous situation, but she's completely strong and serene, and she's actually meditating. It was very, very well liked because no matter what culture or what sort of walk of life you're from, I think people, they see it and they immediately understand what that energy, what that message is, and they're drawn to it because everybody kind of needs a little bit of that in their own life, of, the steadfast calmness and something to hold on to. It's definitely an inner peace in the midst of something very chaotic, and for a lot of people right now, the whole world is very, very chaotic, so I guess that's another reason why so many people are very drawn to this.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
The White House today announcing significant changes for 500,000 illegal immigrants. How hundreds of thousands could now be on their way to eventually becoming U.S. citizens if they're eligible.
Forecasts of record-breaking temperatures in central and eastern parts of the United States this week. Stay cool.
Multiple congressional primaries today in Virginia, Oklahoma, and Georgia. And former President Trump endorses more candidates in upcoming contests.
Boeing's CEO is expected to appear before U.S. lawmakers on Tuesday. He and other high-ranking Boeing officials will answer questions about plane safety.
EU leaders continue to discuss nominations for the union's top jobs. The leading candidates look to secure the offices of European Commission President, Chair of the European Council, and Foreign Policy Chief.
President Joe Biden is to sign a bipartisan bill passed by Congress that would, in part, reaffirm Tibetan rights.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
Some immigrants without legal status who are married to Americans can soon apply for permanent residency and eventually citizenship.
President Biden will speak about the new plans today. He's celebrating the 12th anniversary of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, also known as DACA.
To qualify for the new program, an immigrant must have lived in the U.S. for 10 years as of Monday and be married to an American citizen.
If approved, the individual would have 3 years to apply for a green card and receive a temporary work permit. They'd also be shielded from deportation in the meantime.
This could affect upwards of 500,000 immigrants. About 50,000 non-citizen children could also qualify if they have a parent who is married to an American.
President Biden is set to speak about the plans at around 3 p.m. today.
Now to the conflicts in the Middle East.
A top U.S. convoy is in Lebanon today as tensions escalate dramatically between Israel and the Hezbollah terrorists.
The conversations that I had here today in Beirut and the ones that I had yesterday in Israel, both are being conducted because the situation is serious. We have seen an escalation over the last few weeks. And what President Biden wants to do is to avoid a further escalation to a greater war.
He added that the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah has been going on for too long and that it's in everyone's interests to resolve it quickly and diplomatically.
He also called on the Hamas terrorist group to accept the latest ceasefire and hostage deal. He said this could also bring the conflict in Lebanon to an end.
During his visit to Lebanon, the Israeli military said that Hezbollah launched 4 projectiles toward Israel earlier today. This broke 3 days of relative calm.
Israel said it intercepted all of the projectiles, but shrapnel from an explosive drone started a brush fire near the border. And Miami's mayor and federal judge did a little community service Monday.
Over the weekend, this man sprayed graffiti at Holy Bagels and Pizzeria. He defaced part of the shop, and you can see wrote what appears to be Free Palestine on an Israeli flag.
Miami Mayor Francis Suarez and federal district judge Roy Altman came to help clean it up. Police are investigating the incident as a hate crime.
The restaurant's owner says this is the 4th time one of his businesses has been vandalized since October. That's when Hamas terrorists launched an attack on Israel, killing over 1,000 people and taking more hostages. And hot weather continuing today. A high-pressure system could bring record-breaking temperatures to a large swath of the country this week.
The central and eastern parts of the United States could see record-breaking heat this week. That's according to the National Weather Service, which says that some 80 million people are currently under a heat advisory or warning, as heat is expected to surpass 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperatures expected do not factor in humidity, which will make it even hotter.
The first heat wave of the season is here and we are ready.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams spoke to reporters about the heat on Monday.
We want to be clear. This is extremely hot for June.
On the other side of the country, Phoenix, Arizona is bracing for another week of temperatures that are expected to exceed 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Animals whose natural habitat is not the dry desert are being monitored closely as the heat rises. Luke Starkweather is a keeper of ectotherms at the Phoenix Zoo.
So the way I see it, as soon as we start feeling uncomfortable, that's probably when it's time to start misting them down. These guys will have a little higher heat tolerance than your average person, but even so, they're not immune to the effects of heat. So just as often as possible.
Officials across the country are advising people to stay hydrated, limit strenuous activity in the sun, and wear lightweight clothing. Temperatures are expected to remain elevated until the weekend.
And residents of a village in southern New Mexico were ordered to evacuate immediately as a fast-moving wildfire threatened homes.
Officials in Ruidoso urged residents yesterday to leave without gathering belongings. The town is home to 7,000 people.
Power was shut off to some 2,000 homes and businesses as the fire grew to at least 2 square miles. Hot ash was reported falling in nearby communities, with authorities urging people to call 911 if they spot flames.
State police reported phone outages that could impact emergency responses. As of this morning, the blaze, covering over 8 square miles, was 0% contained. It threatened multiple structures.
A portion of U.S. Highway 70 was closed as the fire spread.
The South Fork fire, which started on the Mescalero Apache Reservation, prompted a state of emergency. A second fire, called the Salt Fire, has burned over 4 square miles with no containment.
And a wildfire burning about 60 miles northwest of Los Angeles has already burned more than 15,000 acres, forcing the evacuation of more than 1,000 people.
Firefighters are battling strong winds and complicated terrain as they try to beat back the flames in Southern California's post-fire. As of last night, only 20% was contained. NTD's Bill Thomas tells us more.
The post-fire was first reported on Saturday afternoon at 1:45 near Gorman School Road and Ralph's Ranch Road in Gorman, California. With winds reported up to 60 miles per hour, coupled with dry vegetation and warm temperatures, the conditions were ripe for a wildfire. The blaze quickly spread to the mountainous terrain right next to Interstate 5. We spoke with Craig Little, a public information officer with the LA County Fire Department, to see if the flames would be beaten back anytime soon.
No, I don't think so. The winds are very heavy, which promotes the growth of the fire and makes it very difficult for us to fight the fire.
We asked if anyone had been hurt as a result of the fire.
We had 3 minor injuries this morning. They were transported to a local area hospital. Very minor injuries, 2 adults and 1 child.
Regarding wildfires, property damage is always a concern, but Captain Sheila Kelleher with the LA County Fire Department shares with us some positive news.
But no homes have been damaged in this fire yet. We did have some evacuations, but they were just closures of day parks. So we had a bunch of people enjoying the park with their ATVs and things like that. So they had to leave. So technically they're evacuated out of the area, but no homes have been evacuated yet.
However, Captain Kelleher says residents could face evacuation orders if the weather changes.
And if that wind does shift and starts pushing it more towards the city, because right now it's pushing it out kind of towards the wilderness.
Kelleher says there have been a number of recent fires, but this one really exploded.
We've had a lot of fires in the last 4 weeks start out there, and the crews have done an amazing job shutting them down quick. That's why they haven't heard about them. But that alone says how dry that fuel is. We have 2.5 years of unburned fuel in a lot of places because we haven't had a big major fire over the last couple of seasons. We've had them just bumping off, but not to this size. So there's a lot of unburnt fuel out there and a lot of growth. And with the wind and the low humidity, they've dried out already.
To increase the level of containment as rapidly as possible, firefighters from a number of agencies are all pitching in.
We have a coordinated effort of many different fire service fire departments that are helping in this effort. Los Angeles County, Ventura County, Kern County, Angeles National Forest, and a host of other stations that are helping us to fight this fire. Well over 350 firefighting personnel helping with this, along with fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters.
Firefighters on the ground and in the air are doing all they can to increase their level of containment, but progress is hampered by winds, complicated topography, and an enormous amount of dry brush. Bill Thomas and Jimmy Ma, NTD News, Gorman, California.
And tragedy in Colorado as a small plane crashes into a mobile home park, killing 2 on board. The twin-engine Cessna crashed in the town of Steamboat Springs yesterday. The coroner's office confirmed the victims were a man and a woman. Fortunately, no residents of the mobile park were killed.
The crash occurred late afternoon, hitting 2 mobile homes. It sparked a fire that spread to nearby outbuildings.
The National Transportation Safety Board plans to investigate the crash.
FlightAware reports that the plane departed from Ogden, Utah, stopped in Longmont, Colorado, and was en route to Steamboat Springs when it went down. What's Boeing's latest plan to address manufacturing concerns? The CEO is scheduled to appear before lawmakers today. Relatives of people who died in 2 crashes of Boeing 737 MAX jetliners are planning to attend.
CEO Dave Calhoun is to appear before the Senate Investigations Committee, chaired by Senator Richard Blumenthal, a Boeing critic.
This follows an incident in January when a panel blew out of a 737 MAX during an Alaska Airlines flight. The 737 MAX is Boeing's best-selling commercial aircraft.
The National Transportation Safety Board and the Federal Aviation Administration are conducting separate investigations. Meanwhile, a current Boeing employee claims that the company tried to shield broken or out-of-specification 737 MAX plane parts from regulators and lost track of them. This is according to a Senate subcommittee investigation.
The new whistleblower is Sam Mohawk, who works for Boeing Quality Assurance. He claims that Boeing tried to hide the non-conforming parts from FAA regulators by moving them out of sight and falsifying records.
Boeing has only said it received the report from congressional investigators. And a Missouri judge has overturned a conviction in a 1980 murder case. Sandra Hamm has been in prison for more than 40 years, and she could be out in less than a month. She was convicted of the 1980 murder of a librarian named Patricia Jeschke in St. Joseph, Missouri.
A judge overturned the conviction last week, saying the evidence of Hamm's innocence is clear and convincing. Hamm is represented by attorneys through the Innocence Project, who have requested a bond hearing to free the 64-year-old. Her legal team claims police ignored evidence that pointed to a St. Joseph police officer. The officer died in 2015.
The Buchanan County prosecutor will decide if there will be a new trial or if the case will be dismissed. And in Georgia, a man convicted of leaving his nearly 2-year-old son to die in a hot car in 2014 has been released from prison.
Justin Ross Harris was originally sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Back in 2014, Harris told police he forgot to drop his son Cooper off at daycare and instead went to work, leaving the toddler in his car seat. Cooper died after sitting for about 7 hours in the hot car.
Tragic. According to Georgia jail records, Harris was released on Sunday. The Cobb County District Attorney's Office says it has decided not to retry Harris. During his 2016 trial, prosecutors presented evidence that Harris was having extramarital affairs. A jury found him guilty of malice murder, child cruelty, and other crimes. But in 2022, Georgia's Supreme Court nullified the life sentence, finding that the jury was presented evidence that was, quote, extremely and unfairly prejudicial. The Supreme Court had left in place a sentence for other charges he was convicted of in his 2016 trial. And coming up, a U.S. electric vehicle startup files for bankruptcy, and parents are breaking the bank to go on Disney vacations. Don Ma brings us the business updates.
And Kentucky residents won't be able to access a major pornography website starting mid-July. We have more on why after the break.
Tangazo hili linahusu njaa. Tarajia kuona watoto wakiwa na njaa katika maeneo haya. Mambo yalikuwa bora kwa miaka mingi. Tuliweza kupigana na njaa na watoto wachache walikufa. Lakini sasa mambo yamebadilika na kwa mabaya zaidi. Hii ni kwa sababu wakati huu ukame umeangamiza zaidi.
Через війни та конфлікти ми мусимо залишати наші домівки і всі наші речі. Ми навіть не маємо їжі. Тому нам потрібна ваша допомога.
Millions of children are fighting to survive due to inequality, conflict, poverty, and the climate crisis. Save the Children is working alongside communities to provide a better life for children. And there's a way you can help. Please call or go online to give just $10 a month, only 33 cents a day. We urgently need 1,000 new monthly donors in the next 30 days to help the children we support around the world. You can help provide food, medicine, care, and protection, plus so much more that a child needs, by calling right now and giving just $10 a month.
Ви можете допомогти голодуючим родинам вижити.
All we need are 1,000 monthly donors in the next 30 days. Please call or go online now with your monthly gift of just $10. Thanks to generous government grants, every dollar you give can have up to 10 times the impact. And when you call with your credit card, we will send you this Save the Children tote bag as a thank you for your support.
Тотокоти дунyaні
потребують вашої допомоги.
Your small monthly donation of just $10 could be the reason a child in crisis survives. Please call or go online to hungerstopsnow.org to help save lives today.
When I drink it, the first thing was I feel the warmth in my tummy. It's kind of like gently radiating out, a kind of a very comforting warmth. And it was really good, actually. I felt much better. I did feel, actually, an effect. And I find that it is actually better when I take it regularly.
It's actually steamed and dried 9 times. And so it's really, the essence is really extracted.
Then the second time, I tried it really like on an empty stomach and just 2 teaspoons of it, and over a few times. And wow, there was a big difference, because suddenly I could feel, wow, I was very good energized. I didn't have to eat. I could work outside in the garden for a couple of hours, and I still felt very well. And I was impressed by that. So I think it's a good product.
Hi, I'm Kelly Wright. We thank you for joining us and watching America's Hope here on NTD News. Bottom line is, I know you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, but let's give you some good news in the midst of the bad news. Watch us nightly, right here on NTD News, for a full dose of America's Hope.
Joining us now is NTD's Business Matters host, Don Ma, to give us the latest updates from the tech and business world.
Don, good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Chris, Steph.
Good to see you.
What's going on out there today?
Okay, so a couple of things that I wanted to bring your guys' attention to. Let me start off with this. U.S. electric vehicle maker Fisker says that it is filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So not so good for the company. Now let me just explain. Chapter 11 allows companies to try to resolve their financial problems through reorganization. So the company already warned that it was in trouble, saying that in February it might not have enough money to survive another year. So a spokesperson is saying on Tuesday, like other companies in the EV industry, Fisker faced various market conditions that impacted its ability to operate efficiently. The EV company's only product is the Fisker Ocean electric SUV. It made about 10,000 of them last year, but only half were delivered to customers. The reviews have not been kind, actually, to the company. American YouTuber, very famous here, Marquez Brownlee, called it, quote, the worst car I've ever reviewed. So the viral video sent Fisker stock plunging.
Oh, that is a harsh review. Okay, so talking more about debt, but from another angle, you've got some info for us about Apple's Buy Now, Pay Later service.
Yes, so yeah, let me bring your attention to that as well. So Apple is announcing actually it's discontinuing Buy Now, Pay Later. And it's going to replace that in place of another program. So personally, I was actually kind of looking forward to using Buy Now, Pay Later, but it seems like they're discontinuing it. So, I mean, I haven't tried it out so far, but now I guess I lost my ability to do that.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm using other services not provided by Apple that work similarly to Buy Now, Pay Later. So, I mean, I still have the ability to, I guess, just not with Apple.
Okay, and Don, in school is just getting out. Families are going on summer vacation. How is this impacting parents' finances? I mean, with inflation and everything.
So, Chris, I actually saw a very interesting survey recently, and this is from Lending Tree, and it says that nearly half of parents taking a vacation to Disney, for example, are going into debt to do that. So the average family breaks the budget by around $2,000, and it can take months to actually pay off the tab, and many blame pricey foods and souvenirs for busting the budget. But you know where you can go for free for vacation here? Well, let me tell you, the National Park Service is waiving entrance fees at all its national parks tomorrow in honor of Juneteenth. So maybe consider that.
All right, I certainly will, although tomorrow's a little soon to be taking a day off.
Yeah,
you may not see me here tomorrow.
I was thinking about this, Don. One of the things, one way that people can save money is actually staying local. I mean, how many people actually have seen the sites in their area or in their city, you know?
Yeah, I mean, national parks is a great way to start the vacation, even if you plan to go on other locations. I mean, starting off with the national park can't go wrong for you.
Staycations.
Exactly.
All right, Don Ma, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Kentucky is cracking down on minors viewing sexual material online, and as a result, a major website is cutting service in the state. Pornhub says it won't implement age verification measures, citing privacy concerns. Kentucky followed Texas and Utah in passing the law designed to keep minors from accessing inappropriate content. To discuss this, I spoke with the general counsel at the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, Benjamin Bull. Benjamin Bull, thank you so much for joining us. Talk about the trend by states like Kentucky and Texas to limit pornography for minors.
Well, you know, they say that the states are the laboratories of the nation. And so we now have some very innovative legislation that was first passed in Louisiana, then replicated in Texas, and as you've said, has now been passed in Utah and Kentucky. It basically makes all online pornography freely available to adults. But for an adult to access it, they have to demonstrate that they're 18 or over. In the same way you have to prove that you're 18 when you buy alcohol or buy an explicit magazine at an airport bookstore. So it doesn't eliminate any pornography for adults. It doesn't reduce adults to what is suitable for minors. It only limits access to minors.
And what's behind this trend? I mean, it's somewhat recent, these types of state-level laws.
Well, part of it is it's just kind of hit a critical mass. There's kind of been a zeitgeist moment in the last several years that we now have a full generation, a full 20 years of kids that have had unlimited access to the kind of hardcore pornography that, frankly, you and I can't even describe on a television. A variety of studies, both from conservative and liberal outlets, have shown that like over 50% of kids under 14 years of age are accessing pornography online in an unlimited way, and this having a variety of consequences. Antisocial behavior. I think that the Surgeon General today recommended that there be warning labels put on social media. Well, if there are warning labels put on social media, how much worse is hardcore pornography for children? And so you have antisocial behavior. You have objective studies done by clinical organizations. This isn't a religious or moral movement now. It's mothers and fathers seeing negative things happening to their children, whether it's in school or antisocial behavior. You've got the epidemic of suicide attempts. You've just got a variety of negative antisocial behavior that's being attributed, being associated with, to the point where you can say that there's now a causation, a correlation between unlimited access to hardcore pornography at 12, 13, 14, and earlier, and later acting out.
Some major companies facing these age verification requirements that we're talking about are choosing to cut services to states that are mandating these requirements. They're citing privacy issues. What does the law say about privacy here?
Well, the laws that have been passed require the online platform to destroy the uploaded identification information within a matter of a day or two. In other words, they're not allowed to to use it, to cultivate it, to use it in any way for advertising. But the fact of the matter is that if you log into a hardcore porn site, it knows who you are. It will bombard you with advertisements, explicit advertisements in the following days and weeks. It's not difficult to identify a particular email address with a particular individual. The dirty little secret is that if you use online platforms like Pornhub, especially if you use them in a repeated way, it knows exactly who you are. It knows where you live. It knows the kind of pornography you like, and it will use algorithms to promote certain kind of material to you. You'll find them in your inbox, even if you don't want them. So the notion that there's a privacy concern here in light of what these online platforms are already collecting about people is laughable. It's made up. It's make-weight. It doesn't exist.
All right, Benjamin Bull, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Next, rental rates on 1 million New York City apartments are set to increase, adding to the city's affordability concerns. The Rent Guidelines Board voted to raise rent by 2.75% for one-year leases and 5.25% for two-year leases. The move applies to leases signed on or after October 1st. This marks the lowest one-year increase under Mayor Erica Adams, who often supports small landowners.
Tenant activists, including some city council members, protested the decision. They argue it could push many out of their homes.
The Working Families Party condemned the move, criticizing Adams for what they called prioritizing landlord profits over tenants' needs.
Adams acknowledged the city's affordability crisis, but defended the decision, citing rising maintenance costs for landlords. And a new study shows Americans are eating better, but the gains they've made over the past 20 years are very small. The study's author says he would grade America's diet as a D-, slightly up from an F in previous studies.
Researchers studied the diets of 52,000 Americans between 1999 and 2020. They found the number of people who had a poor diet dropped from 49% to 37% during that time. But the number of adults who had an ideal diet, with 9 cups a day of fruit and vegetables, rose less than 1%.
Despite warnings about poor eating habits, over 1 million Americans die each year from diet-related diseases. This includes obesity, cancer, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. The study appeared yesterday in Annals of Internal Medicine. And the chairman of Toyota has survived a shareholder revolt at the carmaker's annual general meeting amid a spate of safety and testing violations at the company.
The grandson of the firm's founder, Toyota remains hugely popular among Japanese retail investors. He's also been praised for steering Toyota through another year of record profits and strong stock gains. While that meant Toyota faced little chance of not being re-elected, insiders were concerned that a significant vote against him could be an embarrassment. Exact figures on the result won't be released until Wednesday. Toyota was forced to issue an apology after Japan's government began probing violations at the parent firm and group companies, including small car unit Daihatsu. Earlier in June, officials from the Transport Ministry launched an on-site inspection at Toyota headquarters. The auto giant said it had wrongly conducted certification tests on 6 vehicles, 3 of which are still on the market. It has promised steps to prevent any recurrence of the problems. Toyota shares have fallen around 10% since the latest revelations came to light, but are still up 18% or so this year.
Coming up, Trump's vice presidential pick could have even more impact on this election than in previous years. We'll hear why that is and who the front runners are after this break.
Come to Mathis Home for the Monumental Savings Event and get big values on the latest dining sets. Here's a hot buy. This table and 4 side chairs is only $442. Shop and compare, nobody beats Mathis Home. Or this 72-inch table is a great value at just $670 with a genuine white marble top. Check out this mid-century modern set. You get the table and 4 chairs all for just $698. Shop now and save during the Monumental Savings Event at Mathis Home.
Hello. Today we are talking about Medicare Advantage plans, also known as Medicare Part C. If you have Original Medicare, you have Medicare Part A and Part B. Part A covers hospital stays, while Part B covers medical visits like seeing the doctor. A Medicare Part C plan covers everything in Parts A and B and could save you money or include additional benefits you may not be receiving with your current plan. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage for any reason, call now to see if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that could include additional benefits. All you have to do to find out if you could enroll in a plan that could save you money or include additional benefits is follow these steps. 1. Call the number on your screen. 2. Give your zip code to the licensed insurance agent. And 3. Find a plan best for you and your needs. Part C plans can change every year. Call now, even if you've called in the past, because you could be eligible for 2024 plans with additional benefits that may have previously been unavailable to you. So call today and find out the plan options available to you in your zip code. Just call 800-693-6549. You do not automatically get enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan that saves money or includes additional benefits, so you should call to find out what plans are available to you. Insurance companies offer different plans in different zip codes. Call today and find out what plans are available to you in your zip code. Call 800-693-6549. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage for any reason, call now to see if you're eligible to enroll in a Part C plan that could save you money and include additional benefits. All you have to do is follow these steps. 1. Call the number on your screen. 2. Give your zip code to the licensed insurance agent. And 3. Find a plan best for you and your needs. Remember, you do not automatically get a Part C plan. Call now for your free 2024 no-obligation Medicare benefits review. Call 800-693-6549. 800-693-6549. 800-693-6549.
You need some help?
Your tow chains are a little loose. Could spark a wildfire. I could show you how to secure them properly if you'd like.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
Anytime. You should check out SmokeyBear.com. They've got a bunch of tips on wildfire prevention.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
We're in the nation's capital asking the important questions so that you're in the know. Join us daily, Monday through Friday, on the Capitol Report on NTD News.
Welcome back. A GOP primary showdown in Virginia. Congressman Bob.Good faces a Trump-backed challenger from State Senator John McGuire in today's primary. Good is chair of the House Freedom Caucus, while McGuire is a former Navy SEAL. The race is tight. A recent poll from the Virginia Faith and Freedom Coalition shows McGuire with 41% of the vote and Good with 31% of the vote, though 29% are undecided.
Good initially backed Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for president, drawing criticism from supporters of former President Trump. He later threw his weight behind Trump once DeSantis dropped out.
And Trump is set to host a tele-rally for McGuire, highlighting the loyalty divide in this contest.
If Good loses, he'll be the first House incumbent to go down to a primary challenge this year, apart from a redistricting race between two incumbents. And Trump endorses candidates in two tight GOP House primaries. In Alaska, Trump endorsed Lieutenant Governor Nancy Dahlstrom over Nick Begich III.
Trump praised Dahlstrom, calling her a tremendous congresswoman on Truth Social.
In Utah, Trump endorsed Congresswoman Celeste Malloy, opposing Senator Mike Lee's pick, Colby Jenkins. Malloy replaced former Congressman Chris Stewart, who resigned last year.
Malloy criticized Lee's endorsement of Jenkins, calling it an unnecessary rift within the Utah GOP. Trump's endorsement followed a meeting with Speaker Mike Johnson, who also supports Malloy.
Political analysts view the House as up for grabs this November. The Hill Decision Desk forecast gives Republicans a 61% chance of maintaining control. Now for an in-depth look at former President Trump's potential vice presidential pick, we're joined by Epoch Times reporter Janice Heisel. Good to have you with us, Janice. As always, you've recently written about why Trump's VP pick this time is different this time from before. Explain the situation for us here.
We do have some very unusual circumstances here. Of course, President Trump is the first president or former president to face any kind of criminal charges, let alone he now has a conviction hanging over his head. And the judge in New York has set his sentencing for July 11th. Now, that's just 4 days before the Republican convention, where everybody was planning to nominate him as their official choice for president on the November 5th ballot. And so the other factor here that's rather unusual is both President Biden and President Trump are a couple of the oldest men to ever seek the presidency. Now, the former president just celebrated his 78th birthday, and I was there where like 5,000 people were part of this celebration. And I think most of the people there would be willing to say that he's a rather vigorous 78 years old. And there's also been concerns raised about, though, President Biden being age 81. And there have been some times where he's, stumbled over his words in a very public way, or, there's just been a lot of questions about the age of both of these candidates, possibly making it much more important or more likely that the VP might have to step in and fulfill the presidential role.
And given all this, Janice, what does Trump need to consider as he makes his VP choice?
There are some things that are just like about any job. For example, you want to look at someone's personality. Is it going to mesh well with the boss? President Trump certainly wouldn't want anybody, and neither would any other presidential candidate, have somebody upstage you, for example. So you would need to have somebody who is strong, yet not overly forceful. At the same time, you also want to have the qualifications in place. What type of experience does this person have? And then there are factors that are different than other jobs, such as what state does this person hail from? Because that could help determine maybe additional votes coming in from that state, if it helps bolster the former president's vote tallies in a state where he really needs that. And some of these people are current office holders, and he has to look at strategically whether moving some of these office holders out of the position they now hold, for example, senator, right now the Republicans are at a disadvantage. They do not have control of the Senate, and they would like to get control of the Senate. So if you lose a Senate seat, move that person out of that position. Do you risk losing that seat maybe in a replacement election later? So there's a lot of factors to consider beyond the normal, quote unquote, job applicant here.
And how important is Trump's vice presidential pick this election cycle compared to, say, in 2016 or 2020?
Well, I did have a lady who has 50 years of experience in political silence. Her name is Susan McManus in Florida. She was telling me that she thinks this is going to be the most consequential VP pick that anybody can remember in her lifetime, for the reasons that we stated, with the possibility this person could maybe have to step in, with the concern that some people say they didn't want to vote for someone who would be a convicted felon at the top of the ticket. So if you have a person in the second position, the vice presidential position, would they feel a little more comfortable voting for President Trump if he picks the right person? So those are some of the factors that are really making this a much more important VP pick than usual. Usually, the VP pick does not have a lot of sway with voters. This time, that could be a little different.
And with this, can you talk a bit about the current field of contenders for Trump's VP pick here?
Trump has floated publicly a couple of different lists. And in addition to that, there are a lot of rumors flying around. There have been literally dozens of people that I've looked into and written about. But it looks like the last round of lists that just came out, he gave an interview on Newsmax TV on June the 4th where he listed 6 names. And those are 2 current governors, which would be North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, 3 senators, and those are J.D. Vance of Ohio, Tim Scott in South Carolina, and then we also have Marco Rubio of Florida. And rounding out that list is going to be Dr. Ben Carson, who was his housing secretary under the Trump administration.
And so, Janice, just in closing here, given everything we're talking about with these unique circumstances, this unique election cycle, who could be the favorite at this point?
What a great question. So the fan favorite would be someone who's not on the list. It seems to me, what I've been reading, a lot of people seem to really like Vivek Ramaswamy, the Ohio businessman who apparently doesn't appear to be on this latest list. A lot of people like his youth. He's in his late 30s. He's got a lot of vigor. He's, a lot of people say he's very well spoken and would be a great advocate, has been a great advocate for former President Trump since he himself, Mr. Ramaswamy, did drop out of the race. But I will say that what I'm hearing in the insider groups is that Doug Burgum, the governor of North Dakota, is actually pretty much high on President Trump's list. And the reason for that is, number one, like President Trump, Mr. Burgum comes from a business background. He's a self-made billionaire. And President Trump really feels a kinship with that, from what I've heard. He really likes Mr. Burgum's personality. Mr. Burgum doesn't have the name recognition of some of these other possible contenders, so that's a little bit against him, maybe. But what I'm hearing is that people do, think that President Trump very, very much likes him, and the former president has been very vocal in saying that he thinks that this man knows more about energy than just about anyone in the United States, which is a huge issue right now, considering the everyday citizen is complaining a lot about gas prices, the cost of those few things going way up. And maybe Mr. Burgum could be a great asset to help him with that. But then again, he might fulfill a different role. But my favorite statement about who the president might pick is a couple of the Trump insiders are saying, he might be having someone in his back pocket that none of us are even talking about. That's actually what happened with Mike Pence back in 2016. The former president, or actually he was then just a candidate, he wasn't a president yet, named Mr. Pence as his running mate 3 days prior to the convention. So as my source says to me, that would be so Trump if he names someone that no one is really thinking of right now.
Fascinating. All right, Epoch Times reporter Janice Heisel, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And next, an update in Trump's New York criminal case. According to NBC, the New York Court of Appeals rejected Trump's appeal of the gag order imposed by Judge Juan Merchan.
The court dismissed the appeal, saying no substantial constitutional question was at issue.
And coming up, President Biden is expecting to sign a bipartisan bill that reaffirms Tibetan rights. That's according to a delegation of lawmakers.
And as people around the world celebrate and honor their fathers, one father and son remain separated by the walls of a Chinese prison. European lawmakers condemning the Chinese Communist Party for its persecution of the family. We'll return with that and more after this break.
The shining gem of New England. This delightful seaside city of Newport is one of the most beautiful places in the state. Today, we bring you here as we meet with our friends and fellow musicians from the Hermitage Piano Trio. As a team, they have garnered multiple Grammy Award nominations with their breathtaking performances.
Oh, wow, I did not think this instrument can make that sound, right?
The pandemic made this reunion even more special.
3 of us, we like it because we feel music the same way, so...
Don't miss us on the next episode of Piano Talks.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're gonna benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
European Union leaders finished talks yesterday without an agreement on who to nominate for the bloc's top jobs. Officials are aiming to make a decision at a summit next week. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the latest developments.
European Union leaders met Monday to discuss nominations for the EU's most important offices. It's the first order of business regarding the new European Parliament after the election saw gains for right-wing parties. Over dinner in Brussels, the EU's 27 national leaders discussed nominees for European Commission President, Chair of the European Council, and Foreign Policy Chief.
It's just a good occasion to exchange views, to take into account the result of the elections and to prepare the formal meeting of the European Council that will take place next week here in Brussels. It's just a good conversation. It goes in the right direction, I think.
Portuguese ex-premier Antonio Costa is expected to be nominated for Council President. Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas is likely to be the EU's top diplomat. Her priority is Ukraine.
Our focus is on supporting Ukraine. De-escalation cannot come at gunpoint and at the expense of Ukraine. Estonia offers Ukraine political and also practical support. We help them with the defensive military aid and expertise.
Incumbent Ursula von der Leyen is expected to win another term as president of the European Commission. Her center-right European People's Party won the most seats in the European parliamentary elections this month. 13 of 27 EU leaders are members of the EPP. They're due to confirm their choices at an EU summit on June 27th. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
The U.S. and India are vowing to improve ties. The U.S. National Security Advisor is visiting recently re-elected Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan also met with India's National Security Advisor. The two countries vowed to improve cooperation on defense, technology, and trade.
Sullivan also met with India's foreign minister and is expected to meet with leaders in business and industry during his two-day trip.
Earlier this month, Modi was elected to his third term as prime minister. Last year, he met with President Biden at the White House in a ceremonious state visit. And a U.S. lawmaker says President Biden will sign a recently passed bill to reaffirm Tibetan rights. Here's Representative Michael McCall today as he led a bipartisan congressional delegation to India.
We're very excited to see His Holiness tomorrow to talk about many things, including the bill we just passed out of Congress that basically says that the United States of America stands with the people of Tibet.
So will the President Biden sign this bill very soon?
Yes, he will. He will.
The bill aims to enhance U.S. support for Tibet, in particular by countering disinformation from Beijing that Tibet has always been part of China. It also pushes for long-needed communication between China and the Dalai Lama.
The delegation includes former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The group is meeting the Dalai Lama today. The 88-year-old Tibetan spiritual leader now resides in a town in the northern Indian Himalayas. He has an upcoming trip to the U.S. for a medical treatment.
The Chinese Communist Party forcefully took control of Tibet in the 1950s. That's when the Tibetan spiritual and political leader, the Dalai Lama, had to flee the region. China sees him as a separatist.
Chinese authorities have been forcing Tibetan people in China to give up their faith and preventing them from preserving the Tibetan language. A video clip is sparking speculation. Chinese officials appeared to have blocked journalist Cheng Lei from observing a meeting between the Chinese premier and Australian Prime Minister on Monday.
Cheng was released last year after spending 3 years in a Chinese prison. She was arrested in Beijing while relations between the two countries took a plunge.
She now works for Sky News. Footage shows a Chinese official blocking Cheng's view. An Australian official later tried to ask him to move to the side, but he didn't budge. Albanese said he didn't see the incident.
And this year's Father's Day celebration took on a somber tone for one father and son. Now living in Germany, the son is raising awareness across Europe for his father, who's been imprisoned in China for over a year just because of his faith. NTD's Flora Hua has more on the story.
Ding and his father haven't been able to celebrate Father's Day for 2 years. Last May, Chinese police arrested his parents in the northern city of Rizhao, China, without an arrest warrant. That's because of their faith in spiritual meditation practice Falun Gong. The Chinese Communist Party has been using national resources to defame and persecute the faith group for almost 25 years.
Due to the persecution of Falun Gong in China, I haven't seen my parents for 12 years. Now, my family is separated. My father is being illegally detained in the Chinese Shandong province prison. My mother is under surveillance, and I, their only child, am in exile in Germany. For more than 1 year, I have not get any chance to talk to my father, and the CCP authorities do not allow any family members to visit my father in prison. So I don't know how my father is really doing there, and they openly claim that a Falun Gong practitioner's death would not be a big deal. So I was extremely worried about my father.
According to survivors of the persecution, the CCP uses various means to force Falun Gong practitioners to give up their faith, including physical abuse and sleep deprivation. Ding is working to raise global awareness, organizing overseas campaigns that call on the Chinese regime to set his father free. His effort has gained wide support from many EU political figures, but also angered Chinese authorities.
The Chinese policeman came to the home of my mother and threatened her and told her, "We will prison your husband just because of the protest letters, just because of your son." So they will never stop to try and silence me. And these reactions show that the Chinese authorities are extremely afraid of international society because they are afraid of being exposed their crimes against Falun Gong practitioners.
So you have been calling on politicians in Europe to help your family. And so what does it look like with their support today?
In January of this year, the European Parliament has passed a resolution on the persecution of Falun Gong and singled out the case of my parents. The resolution demands the immediate release of my father and all Falun Gong practitioners in China. And it also calls for sanctions against all perpetrators and entities who have contributed to the persecution of Falun Gong in China and abroad.
Member of EU Parliament Mariam Laxman reposted Ding's Father's Day post and urged the bloc to do more to defend persecuted groups. She added that standing up for values makes us stronger.
Mr. Ding, can you tell us a little bit more about your father?
My father is, for me, the best father. I'm extremely proud of him because determination and his courage, not only for his faith, but also his great courage to help stop the persecution of Falun Gong in China.
Do you have anything to say to your father who's still in a Chinese prison today?
Every millisecond of the persecution Falun Gong by the CCP is an incredible injustice. I will dedicate myself to free my father from the state crime.
Flora Hua, NTD News.
Thousands of South Korean doctors attended a rally in Seoul. They're protesting government plans to increase medical school admissions.
South Korea's government wants to increase medical school admissions to address a shortage of doctors, but protesting doctors argue this will do little to shore up essential services. Doctors have been on strike for months.
The South Korean government issued a return-to-work order for private doctors who shut their clinics to join the protest. Doctors who defy the return-to-work order can face suspension of their licenses or other legal repercussions.
According to a survey conducted last week, nearly 8 in 10 South Koreans oppose the doctor strike.
And before we head to break, if you have any feedback, please email us at news.today@ntd.com.
And stay with us. We'll have more stories in just a moment.
Say goodbye to harsh, bitter coffee and hello to a delicious, smooth brew. With specialty quality beans, expertly roasted in-house, you'll taste the difference with every sip. Fermented with a blend of 50 enzymes, Days Coffee delivers a rich brew like no other. Made with the highest grade specialty beans available, you're sure to taste the difference. Elevate your morning with Days Enzyme Fermented Coffee.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
The White House today announcing significant changes for 500,000 illegal immigrants. Now hundreds of thousands could be on their way to eventually becoming U.S. citizens if they're eligible.
From extreme heat to raging wildfires, the latest on the severe weather conditions from coast to coast.
A top U.S. envoy in Lebanon addressing escalating tensions between Israel and Hezbollah. What he has to say about the dangerous situation.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken meeting with the chief of Nato. What they have to say about the alliance and the war in Ukraine.
President Biden is expected to sign a bipartisan bill that reaffirms Tibetan rights. That's according to a delegation of lawmakers visiting India.
And going in style for the 9th time, Ralph Lauren will be the official outfitter for Team USA at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games again. A look at the new uniforms.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
Some immigrants without legal status who are married to Americans can soon apply for permanent residency and eventually citizenship.
President Biden will speak about the new plans today. He's celebrating the 12th anniversary of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, also known as DACA.
To qualify for the new program, an immigrant must have lived in the U.S. for 10 years as of Monday and be married to an American citizen.
If approved, the individual would have 3 years to apply for a green card and receive a temporary work permit. They'd also be shielded from deportation in the meantime.
This could affect upwards of 500,000 immigrants. About 50,000 non-citizen children could also qualify if they have a parent who's married to an American.
President Biden is set to speak about the plans at around 3 p.m. today.
And senators on Capitol Hill had mixed reactions to Biden's plan. Here's what some of them had to say.
He is using his tools to try to advance the values of the American people. And that means treating our families as important and helping those families that have mixed legal status on immigration.
I think all these are both him trying to have his cake and eat it too, in the one sense saying he's going to shut the border down, but in the other sense reassuring his progressive left that he's still going to be sensitive to letting people in. He's just got a political problem. And he's got a political problem because it's going against the instincts of his advisors.
Well, the good idea is that Congress finally passed the bipartisan border bill to secure the border and to pass an immigration bill, and presidents of both parties have failed, and I'm hopeful that we do that and make a real difference.
A federal judge is temporarily blocking Iowa from enforcing a contested new immigration law. The policy would prohibit immigrants who have been denied entry into the U.S. to step foot into Iowa. If they do, local judges would have the power to order the return to their country of origin. A district judge wrote in a decision yesterday the law is preempted in its entirety by federal law and thus is invalid under the Supremacy Clause. The Supremacy Clause of the U.S. Constitution says federal laws generally have more power than state laws. The judge's decision confirms claims by the Department of Justice. The department brought one of multiple lawsuits saying Iowa's policy conflicts with federal immigration statutes. Iowa's Attorney General says she'll appeal the decision in order to keep the state's communities safe.
Hunter Biden's legal team filed and then withdrew a motion for a fresh trial yesterday. A note on the docket website says the motion has been deleted at the request of counsel. Lawyer Abe Lowell wrote in the motion that the court which found Hunter Biden guilty lacked jurisdiction. He argued 2 appeals in the case are still pending, and it was not within the federal court's power to proceed with the trial.
But the motion was quickly withdrawn without comment. Lowell's office did not yet respond to questions from the media.
Last week, a jury found Hunter Biden guilty of making a false statement to buy a gun, among several charges.
Hunter Biden faces a maximum sentence of 25 years in prison, but it is unlikely he will face this penalty as a first-time offender.
And a GOP primary showdown in Virginia. Congressman Good faces a Trump-backed challenger from State Senator John McGuire in today's primary. Good is chair of the House Freedom Caucus, while McGuire is a former Navy SEAL. The race is tight. A recent poll from the Virginia Faith and Freedom Coalition shows McGuire with 41% of the vote and Good with 31% of the vote, though 29% are undecided.
Good initially backed Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for president, drawing criticism from supporters of former President Trump. He later threw his weight behind Trump once DeSantis dropped out.
Trump is set to host a tele-rally for McGuire, highlighting the loyalty divide in this contest.
If Good loses, he'll be the first House incumbent to go down to a primary challenge this year, apart from a redistricting race between two incumbents. And Trump endorses candidates in two tight GOP House primaries. In Alaska, Trump endorsed Lieutenant Governor Nancy Dahlstrom over Nick Begich III.
Trump praised Dahlstrom, calling her a tremendous congresswoman on Truth Social.
In Utah, Trump endorsed Congresswoman Celeste Malloy, opposing Senator Mike Lee's pick, Colby Jenkins. Malloy replaced former Congressman Chris Stewart, who resigned last year.
Malloy criticized Lee's endorsement of Jenkins, calling it an unnecessary rift within the Utah GOP. Trump's endorsement followed a meeting with Speaker Mike Johnson, who also supports Malloy.
Political analysts view the House as up for grabs this November. The Hill Decision Desk forecasts give Republicans a 61% chance of maintaining control.
And an update in Trump's New York criminal case. According to NBC, the New York Court of Appeals rejected Trump's appeal of the gag order imposed by Judge Juan Merchan.
The court dismissed the appeal, saying no substantial constitutional question was at issue. And if you're on the East Coast or in the Midwest today, brace yourself for another day of extreme heat. The National Weather Service has warned that some 76 million Americans are currently under heat advisories. New York Governor Kathy Hochul says she is taking action to help people stay cool.
We're opening our pools and beaches a little bit early. Tomorrow is a federal holiday in observance of Juneteenth, so everyone will be home. Take your kids to the state parks and the beaches and have a good chance to cool off in refreshing water. And so families have a safe place to cool off and beat the heat.
The New York governor has activated the National Guard to assist in any heat emergencies that develop over the next several days.
She also issued an alert for ozone in New York City for the lower Hudson and western New York regions from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. She said this is because extreme humidity can compromise air quality.
FEMA is warning Americans to be aware of heat stroke or heat exhaustion. The agency advised people to keep their children or pets from staying alone in hot vehicles and to stay hydrated, use air conditioning, and check air quality before going outside.
People most at risk include older adults, people who work outdoors, people with certain health issues, and people who don't have access to air conditioning.
Meanwhile, in California, another wildfire is spreading quickly. A blaze in Colusa County ignited on Monday and has burned roughly 4,000 acres of land so far.
Firefighters battle the wildfire into the night, but latest reports indicate that it has not yet been contained.
The challenging terrain and dry conditions are complicating firefighting efforts. Authorities are closing roads and evacuating local residents.
And in Los Angeles County, firefighters were able to increase containment lines around the post fire. Officials said the fire burned over 15,000 acres but is now 24% contained. Firefighters expect better weather conditions in the area today.
And residents of a village in southern New Mexico were ordered to evacuate immediately as a fast-moving wildfire there threatened homes.
Officials in Ruidoso urged residents yesterday to leave without gathering belongings. The town is home to 7,000 people.
Power was shut off to some 2,000 homes and businesses as the fire grew to at least 2 square miles. Hot ash was reported falling in nearby communities, with authorities urging people to call 911 if they spot flames.
State police reported phone outages that could impact emergency responses. As of this morning, the blaze, covering over 8 square miles, was 0% contained. It threatened multiple structures.
A portion of U.S. Highway 70 was closed as the fire spread.
The South Fork fire, which started on the Mescalero Apache Reservation, prompted a state of emergency. A second fire, called the Sweltering, has burned over 4 square miles with no containment.
And coming up, Fed Chair Jerome Powell is scheduled to testify before the Senate Banking Committee and the House Financial Services Committee. What lawmakers are expected to ask him.
And after a shocking crime at a local park, a community in New York City is demanding more protection for its children.
And Senate Leader Chuck Schumer says the Senate will seek a national ban on bump stocks as soon as today. That's after the Supreme Court lifted a ban on the gun attachment last week. Details on that after the break.
When I started MyPillow, it was just a problem solution, one product company. Well, since then, with the help of my dedicated employees, we now have hundreds of products, some you might not even know about. To get the word out, we're having a $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And for the first time ever, our 6-pack towel sets, you guessed it, just $25. Our brand new 4-pack dish towels, $25. And I've never done this before. Premium MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size for only $25. And there's so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code for our $25 extravaganza. Order $75 and over. Your entire order ships absolutely free.
Hi, I'm Tim Che, the director and writer of the Firing Squad. You can participate in our Million Souls campaign, inviting everyone you know to Jesus. Listen, we all face some kind of firing squad in our lives, and yet faith in the Lord, that challenge can lead us to true peace in this insane world. We can't do it without you. We're competing with big Hollywood movies, so we're relying on your voice to spread the word. Thank you again for supporting this important movie.
A painting that has true beauty. I imagine it's like a door. The artist holds the key to open the door and bring people to a purer world. A world where people are more compassionate.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha 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 ha.
See, Smokey thinks I'm funny.
We're in the nation's capital asking the important questions so that you're in the know. Join us daily, Monday through Friday, on the Capitol Report on NTD News.
Welcome back. Miami's mayor and a federal judge did a little community service on Monday.
Over the weekend, this man sprayed graffiti at Holy Bagels and Pizzeria. He defaced part of the shop, and you can see wrote what appears to be Free Palestine on an Israeli flag.
Miami Mayor Francis Suarez and federal district judge Roy Altman came to help clean it up. Police are investigating the incident as a hate crime.
The restaurant's owner says this is the 4th time one of his businesses has been vandalized since October. That's when Hamas terrorists launched an attack on Israel, killing over 1,000 people and taking more hostages.
Senate Leader Chuck Schumer says the Senate will try to pass a national ban on bump stocks this week. The gun accessory allows semi-automatic weapons to fire at a faster rate. This after the Supreme Court struck down a ban on the gun attachment last week.
Passing a bill banning bump stocks should be the work of 5 minutes. Most Americans support this step. Poll after poll show that a majority of people, including independents, support restrictions on AR-15 style rifles, which is what bump stocks are designed to emulate.
The Supreme Court today ruled last Friday the Trump administration overstepped its authority with the bump stock ban in 2019.
Schumer says senators will try to pass a federal ban on bump stocks as soon as today. He urged Republicans not to block the bill when it comes to the floor.
And police say a Secret Service agent was robbed at gunpoint after President Biden's fundraiser in Los Angeles. The Secret Service said the agent fired his service weapon during the incident but did not sustain any injuries. Police say the suspect attacked the agent at around 9:30 p.m. Pacific time Saturday after Biden returned to his hotel following his fundraising event.
The suspect reportedly stole the agent's bag. Police are on the lookout for a silver Infiniti FX35 or a similar looking vehicle.
The police department said there's no threat to the public. They located some of the agent's belongings in the area.
It is unknown if the suspect was injured after the agent fired his gun. Next, what's Boeing's latest plan to address manufacturing concerns? The CEO is scheduled to appear before lawmakers today. Relatives of people who died in 2 crashes of Boeing 737 MAX jetliners are planning to attend.
CEO David Calhoun is to appear before the Senate Investigations Subcommittee, chaired by Senator Richard Blumenthal, a Boeing critic.
This follows an incident in January when a panel blew out of a 737 MAX during an Alaska Airlines flight. The 737 MAX is Boeing's best-selling commercial aircraft.
The National Transportation Safety Board and the Federal Aviation Administration are conducting separate investigations. Meanwhile, a current Boeing employee claims that the company tried to shield broken or out of specification 737 MAX plane parts from regulators and lost track of them. This is according to a Senate subcommittee investigation.
The new whistleblower is Sam Mohawk, who works for Boeing Quality Assurance. He claims that Boeing tried to hide the non-conforming parts from FAA regulators by moving them out of sight and falsifying records.
Boeing has only said it received the report from congressional investigators. And Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is scheduled to testify on July 9th before the Senate Banking Committee, and he's expected to deliver the same testimony at the House Financial Services Committee the following day. The semi-annual hearings on monetary policy are typically hours-long affairs. Lawmakers are expected to ask Powell about a range of topics from interest rates to the banking system. The Fed last week kept the interest rate between 5.25% and 5.5%. The central bank signaled it may cut borrowing costs only once this year. Senate Banking Committee Chair Sherrod Brown has called on the Fed to cut rates to make homes more affordable. A rate cut could happen before the presidential election in November. And a community is demanding more protection for its children after a shocking crime in the local park. Members of a rally yesterday in Flushing say there needs to be more police and harsher punishment for criminals. NTD's Fiona G was there.
I am outraged that this horrific crime has made parents fearful of letting kids play. Enough is enough. We need to take back our city and save New York so kids can play at parks and playgrounds without fear of being stabbed, shot, or raped.
The rally comes in response to a crime that happened here last Thursday when a 13-year-old girl who goes to the middle school right behind me was threatened and then raped in broad daylight. The incident has caused an outcry.
You never heard about problems here before. It was almost non-existent. But that is the state of the city that we're dealing with. So we don't just complain, we put forward a plan. There's not enough police, and we need that money to be spent to hire police. Don't be fearful and then flee. Stay and fight for what you know is right.
Members of the local community shared their shock when they heard the news.
I was devastated, upset, angry, frustrated. I'm saying, why? The park was the safest place for young children after school to come play soccer.
I have a 21-year-old, and every time that child walks, she's still my child, whether she's 21 or not. Every time she walks out the door, I worry. So much more than I used to, because it's not my community anymore. I don't know who's lurking around, and I don't know why, and I don't know what their intentions are. I don't know what I'm dealing with.
I just pray to God that we get the cops back, law and order is restored, and we become safe again.
The suspect in this case has yet to be found. Both residents and officials alike are calling for change to make the community safe again. Fiona G., NTD News.
A legal battle over abortion access in the South. A federal judge grants a request from the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops and employers in 2 southern states. They don't have to comply with a federal rule requiring them to provide abortion-related accommodations for workers. Judge David Joseph issued a preliminary injunction in lawsuits brought by Louisiana and Mississippi attorneys general and Catholic entities. The lawsuits challenge rules issued in April by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or EEOC. The rules state that abortions are among pregnancy-related conditions covered by the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, which passed in December 2022. Mississippi and Louisiana officials argue the EEOC mandate conflicts with state abortion laws. The EEOC defended its regulations, stating they align with anti-discrimination laws and allow for case-by-case accommodations.
And a federal judge has sentenced a Texas man to 33 months in prison for threatening violence against Congresswoman Maxine Waters. The court also issued a $10,000 fine for menacing phone calls the man made to the California Democrat. The judge found that Brian Michael Gary targeted Waters because she's black. That aggravated factors led to a hate crime enhancement to the 61-year-old's sentence. Prosecutors argued that Garrity committed the crime to hinder Waters from performing her official duties. Garrity had pleaded guilty to 1 count of threatening a U.S. official. The Houston resident confessed to threatening to assault and murder Waters in August and November 2022. Authorities warned Garrity in October 2022, but he continued to violently threaten the Congresswoman. And tragedy in Colorado as a small plane crashes into a mobile home park, killing 2 on board. The twin-engine Cessna crashed in the town of Steamboat Springs yesterday. The coroner's office confirmed the victims were a man and a woman. Fortunately, no residents of the mobile park were killed.
The crash occurred late afternoon, hitting 2 mobile homes. It sparked a fire that spread to nearby outbuildings.
The National Transportation Safety Board plans to investigate the crash.
FlightAware reports the plane departed from Ogden, Utah, stopped in Longmont, Colorado, and was en route to Steamboat Springs when it went down. The United States government has suspended inspections of avocados and mangoes in a top-producing Mexican state due to security concerns. That's according to an official with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The spokesperson said Monday that Mexican exports from the state of Michoacan have not been blocked. Avocados and mangoes already in transit won't be affected, and inspections in other Mexican states are also not affected. The governor of Michoacan told reporters that Mexican officials are working with U.S. counterparts to resolve the situation. And singer Justin Timberlake is in police custody in Long Island, New York, for allegedly driving while intoxicated. Sag Harbor police say he was arrested Monday night. People magazine reports he was arrested shortly after he left a dinner at the American Hotel. The NSYNC member had a court appearance Tuesday morning. Timberlake is currently touring for his most recent album, Everything I Thought It Was. It's the first time in 5 years the pop star has gone on tour. He's scheduled to perform in Chicago at the United Center on Friday. The Grammy-winning boy band star, solo artist, and movie star is 43 years old.
Coming up, Secretary of State Antony Blinken meeting with the chief of Nato. What they have to say about the alliance and the war in Ukraine.
The United States and India pledged to work together better. They vowed deeper cooperation in several key areas as the U.S. National Security Advisor visits the nation.
South Korean doctors are protesting a move by their government aimed at the medical profession. More in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
Hi, I'm Caleb, and this is my story. I was born with osteogenesis imperfecta, or brittle bone disease. I have broken my bones almost 200 times, and I have had 11 surgeries. But I didn't let that stop me. I love to bike ride, climb, race, and I'm learning how to stand and walk. But I can only do all of this because of generous people like you and Shriners Hospitals for Children.
Because of people like you, Shriners Hospitals for Children has helped more than 1.3 million kids just like me, regardless of their family's ability to pay.
Shriners Hospitals for Children is only able to provide this world-class, life-changing medical care because of the generous gifts of people just like you.
Because of you, I can ride my bike. I can play basketball.
Because of people like you, I can run.
I can smile.
Will you send your love to the rescue today?
When you go to loveshriners.org right now and give just 63 cents a day, you're helping kids just like me.
Like me. Like me.
When you give today, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of the love you gave to a kid just like me.
Your gift, no matter how small, can help a child today.
This is your moment to make a difference.
When you pick up your phone, I know you have it right there, and call to give. You're helping kids like me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, please call again or give right away at loveshriners.org.
Your gift makes a difference. Thank you for giving.
You'll save big at Mathis Home and get store-wide 12-month no-interest financing during the Monumental Savings Event. Get huge markdowns on hundreds of sofas starting at just $3.99. Check out our incredible selection of patio and outdoor furniture and save big. Plus, we're the only place with top-name recliners starting at just $195. Shop online and find over 180,000 items perfect for every room in your house. Come save at the Monumental Savings Event at Mathis Home.
Hi, I'm Kelly Wright. We thank you for joining us and watching America's Hope here on NTD News. Bottom line is, I know you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, but let's give you some good news in the midst of the bad news. Watch us nightly, right here on NTD News, for a full dose of America's Hope.
Now to the conflicts in the Middle East.
A top U.S. convoy is in Lebanon today as tensions escalate dramatically between Israel and the Hezbollah terrorists.
The conversations that I had here today in Beirut and the ones that I had yesterday in Israel, both are being conducted because the situation is serious. We have seen an escalation over the last few weeks. And what President Biden wants to do is to avoid a further escalation to a greater war.
He added that the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah has been going on for too long, and that it's in everyone's interest to resolve it quickly and diplomatically.
He also called on the Hamas terrorist group to accept the latest ceasefire and hostage deal. He said this could also bring the conflict in Lebanon to an end.
During his visit to Lebanon, the Israeli military said that Hezbollah launched 4 projectiles toward Israel earlier today. This broke 3 days of relative calm.
Israel said it intercepted all of the projectiles, but shrapnel from an explosive drone started a brush fire near the border.
And Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said today that Secretary of State Antony Blinken had assured him the U.S. was working to cancel restrictions on arms deliveries to Israel.
Blinken reportedly said the Biden administration was working day and night to remove such bottlenecks.
Last month, President Biden warned Israel that the U.S. would stop supplying it weapons if Israeli forces make a major invasion of Rafah. And Secretary of State Antony Blinken is meeting with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg at the Department of State. Their plan is to discuss the war in Ukraine and the strength of the alliance.
We have very ambitious commitments that we're making as an alliance going forward. We're demonstrating our enduring support for Ukraine and providing a strong bridge to Ukraine's membership in the alliance. We're establishing a NATO command in Wiesbaden, coordinating training, security assistance, equipment, its transfer, its repair, its maintenance. We're strengthening our collective deterrence and defense.
Since 2014, NATO has undergone the most significant transformation in our collective defense in a generation. We have put in place the most comprehensive defense plans since the Cold War. We have 500,000 troops at high readiness, and we have doubled the number of battle groups in the eastern part of the alliance. And with Sweden and Finland as members, we are stronger than ever. Russia's war on Ukraine is a brutal assault on a peaceful, democratic nation. This war is propped up by China, North Korea, and Iran.
Stoltenberg said that 23 of the 32 NATO members will be able to hit the alliance's defense spending pledge. That's 2% of each country's GDP.
Blinken and Stoltenberg's meeting comes as NATO plans to mark its 75th anniversary next month in Washington, D.C. And the Slovak president shared an update on Tuesday saying that his country supports NATO's proposal for its next leader. The Dutch Prime Minister has been nominated for the job of next Secretary General, and Slovakia is one of the last countries in the alliance to fall in line behind the choice.
Slovakia can imagine supporting Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte as the head of the North Atlantic Alliance. At the same time, however, we asked the Prime Minister and expressed very clearly the need for him to express in some way a pledge and a commitment to help as the new head of NATO, to help solve the protection of the airspace of Slovakia, which is currently unprotected.
The Dutch Prime Minister is to succeed Jens Stoltenberg, who will step down in October as NATO's head. He already has the support of the United States, Britain, France, and Germany.
Dutch media reported on Tuesday that Hungary has also dropped its opposition to the Dutch Prime Minister, and Turkey told its allies in April it would support him.
NATO takes decisions by consensus. That means any candidate needs the support of all 32 allies.
With the approval of Slovakia and Hungary, the Dutch Prime Minister now awaits support from just Romania.
And now we have some short headlines from the UK, Germany, and other European countries. Russian President Putin traveled to far northeastern Russia before his visit to North Korea on Tuesday. He landed in the largest city in Russia's Sakha region and met with the regional government.
The Russian president attended a roundtable meeting in the city along with the regional government. He received briefings on the area's technology and defense-related projects.
Putin will next head to Pyongyang to meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Russia and North Korea are deepening their alignment in the face of intensifying standoffs with Washington.
Putin's visit comes amid international concerns about the two countries' expanding military cooperation.
German officials say the security situation in the country remains tense. They're highlighting threats ranging from foreign espionage to internal extremism.
The country's domestic intelligence agency released an annual report on the protection of the Constitution today.
It found that Russia, China, and Iran in particular used their intelligence services for espionage against Germany in 2023.
Russian actors allegedly planned sabotage operations to undermine Germany's support for Ukraine recently.
8 suspects in the German Citizens of the Reich coup went on trial in Munich today.
They hold that the German democracy of today is an illegitimate facade and that they are citizens of a monarchy. The monarchy was formally abolished after Germany's defeat in World War I.
The court spokesman said the defendants in the Munich trial are accused of taking on various roles within a council.
They allegedly wanted to set up the council over Germany if their coup was successful. The 8 defendants are among a total of 26 facing trial this year.
British actor Ian McKellen is recovering after falling off a stage mid-performance last night.
The 85-year-old is part of a William Shakespeare play. He lost his footing and fell off the front of the stage during a fight scene. McKellen cried out as staff rushed to help.
The show was canceled and the actor was taken to a hospital. The theater says McKellen is now resting and the play will resume tomorrow.
The actor is best known for playing Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings. He was also Magneto in the X-Men movies. And the U.S. and India are vowing to improve ties. The U.S. National Security Advisor is visiting recently re-elected Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan also met with India's National Security Advisor. The two countries vowed to improve cooperation on defense, technology, and trade.
Sullivan also met with India's foreign minister and is expected to meet with leaders in business and industry during his 2-day trip.
Earlier this month, Modi was elected to his 3rd term as prime minister. Last year, he met with President Biden at the White House in a ceremonious state visit. And a U.S. lawmaker says President Biden will sign a recently passed bill to reaffirm Tibetan rights. Here's Representative Michael McCall today as he led a bipartisan congressional delegation to India.
We're very excited to see His Holiness tomorrow to talk about many things, including the bill we just passed out of Congress that basically says that the United States of America stands with the people of Tibet.
So will the President Biden sign this bill?
Yes, he will. He will.
The bill aims to enhance U.S. support for Tibet, in particular by countering disinformation from Beijing that Tibet has always supposedly been part of China. It also pushes for long-needed communication between China and the Dalai Lama.
The delegation includes former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The group is meeting the Dalai Lama today. The 88-year-old Tibetan spiritual leader now resides in a town in the northern Indian Himalayas. He has an upcoming trip to the U.S. for a medical treatment.
The Chinese Communist Party forcefully took control of Tibet in the 1950s. That's when the Tibetan spiritual and political leader, the Dalai Lama, had to flee the region. China sees him as a separatist.
Chinese authorities have been forcing Tibetan people in China to give up their faith and prevent them from preserving the Tibetan language. A video clip is sparking speculation. Chinese officials appeared to have blocked journalist Cheng Lei from observing a meeting between the Chinese premier and Australian Prime Minister today.
Cheng was released last year after spending 3 years in a Chinese prison. She was arrested in Beijing while relations between the two countries took a plunge.
She now works for Sky News. Footage shows a Chinese official blocking Cheng's view. An Australian official later tried to ask him to move to the side, but he didn't budge. Albanese said he didn't see the incident. Thousands of South Korean doctors attended a rally in Seoul. They're protesting government plans to increase medical school admissions.
South Korea's government wants to increase medical school admissions to address a shortage of doctors. But protesting doctors argue that this will do little to shore up essential services. Doctors have been on strike for months.
The South Korean government issued a return-to-work order for private doctors who shut their clinics to join the protest. Doctors who defy the return-to-work order can face suspension of their licenses or other legal repercussions.
According to a survey conducted last week, nearly 8 in 10 South Koreans oppose the doctors' strike. And next up, fire, metal, and homeschooling. A traditional blacksmith goes back to the basics, taking his kids along with him.
And in a Greek jail, inmates are taking to the stage, performing in front of friends, guests, and family.
And going in style for the 9th year, Ralph Lauren has again been chosen as the official outfitter of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic teams as they gear up to compete at the Paris 2024 Games. We'll return with that and more after this break.
My dad's name was David. He always talked about getting life insurance, and now it's too late.
No one was expecting my husband Dave to suffer from a heart attack. We didn't have life insurance. We thought we had more time.
Don't be Dave, and don't wait until it's too late to get the life insurance coverage you need. And if you don't have enough insurance to cover funeral costs, credit card debt, and other expenses, your family is going to get stuck with the bill. Call now to get affordable life insurance.
Just call
800-494-1562.
If you're over 50, you can't be turned down for this insurance, regardless of your health. Plus, there's no medical exam, no health questions. Your rate will never go up. Your coverage will never go down. And rates start as low as $5 a week. Remember, don't be Dave. Call now.
Call now.
800-494-1562.
The shining gem of New England. This delightful seaside city of Newport is one of the most beautiful places in the state. Today, we bring you here as we meet with our friends and fellow musicians from the Hermitage Piano Trio. As a team, they have garnered multiple Grammy Award nominations with their breathtaking performances.
Oh, wow, I did not think this instrument can make that sound, right?
The pandemic made this reunion even more special.
Three of us, we like it because we feel music the same way, so...
Don't miss us on the next episode of Piano Talks.
Say goodbye to harsh, bitter coffee and hello to a delicious, smooth brew. With specialty quality beans, expertly roasted in-house, you'll taste the difference with every sip. Fermented with a blend of 50 enzymes, Dave's Coffee delivers a rich brew like no other. Made with the highest grade specialty beans available, you're sure to taste the difference. Elevate your morning with Dave's enzyme fermented coffee.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
For the day's top headlines and the news you need to know, tune in right here to NTD Evening News.
Welcome back. We've heard of inflatable jump houses on the front lawn, but what about gigantic ones that span across a parking lot? NTD's David Lamb checks out the fun at Bounce the City.
Jimenez, tour manager with Bounce the City. Thanks for being here with us. So, walk me through this portion of this obstacle course and tell me what kids could expect, like what we're looking at over here.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so this is actually one of our signature inflatables called the Giant. It's pretty simple, man. You either conquer it or it conquers you. If we stretch it out, it's about 900 feet in length, so it's a very tough obstacle course. You don't just go inside of it, as you can tell around us. There's all kinds of stuff to go over, under, around.
Let's race to the end. All right, ready? Okay, go. Ready, set, go.
I incidentally went around the obstacles instead of over, surprising Edgar. He called it beginner's luck.
Edgar, we appreciate you just coming straight from the airport and meeting with us. Yeah. So, how many of these playgrounds do you have on tour?
So we actually have 4 different tours going on in the U.S. right now. Actually, one will be in Canada, but we travel all over the country, all over the states.
Talk to me about the cleanliness, or how often do you guys, clean the equipment?
Yeah, so we definitely try to pressure wash. It's really hard to talk and not want to bounce, right? So we actually definitely try and pressure wash all of our inflatables before the beginning of any market, depending on where we're at and how the environment is. Sometimes we even do it after each weekend. Cleanliness is something that we definitely try to strive on, obviously for all the families' experiences, so they can come and enjoy the inflatables as they were meant to be enjoyed. Clean, vibrant, just fun.
And jumping can bring cardiovascular benefits and muscle building.
It's one of these things where you're actually able to some way, somehow get an exercise in without really feeling like it's exercise. I mean, I'm pretty sure you felt it as soon as you stepped in one of these. Like the automatic reaction you want to do is just bounce. Yep. So, with bouncing, you start sweating and everything, but you don't really look at it as an exercise. It's more of a fun activity.
Next, we make our way and slide onto another inflatable.
See you on the bottom.
Woo! What's the mission behind this gigantic bounce house? What's the idea behind it?
Literally to put a smile on people's faces, man. That's our mission, to spread, exactly. To let a lot of people experience what we pretty much do.
The inflatable tour is currently on the West Coast for a few weekends, and next, bouncing to New York in July.
So, reporting in Newark, California, David Lau, NTD News.
Back to the basics. A traditional blacksmith and his wife raise 7 kids on a small plot of land in Middle Tennessee. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on how living the old ways brings them more.
Blacksmith Jordan Goodwin and his wife Atlanta were both homeschooled as kids. Together they now carry forward the tradition with their own children. The blacksmith says a belief in a higher power lies at the heart of their system of teaching.
That sets a presuppositional foundation that's very different than that of the public educational system, which starts with the idea, the false idea, that there is no God, there is no creator, and therefore there's no real purpose or meaning.
Goodwin strives to make his kids independent thinkers.
One of the defining characteristics of the education I want to give my kids is teaching them how to learn, so that education never stops for them. When they graduate high school, they can continue to teach themselves things through the rest of their lives.
Although they live in the countryside, Goodwin says his kids have plenty of friends.
Very sociable people. We have my children get lots of social interaction, and so we're not off in a cabin in the woods by ourselves.
Goodwin considers himself an old-school blacksmith.
I make my living by beating hot metal on an anvil.
He has always been a history buff. He loves reading about people from centuries past and how they did things, and is fond of the classical architecture of Western culture from hundreds of years ago.
It's not only important to me what I create, the items I create, but it's like I get to experience history in a way when I use traditional and historical tools and techniques to create the stuff that I make.
Goodwin doesn't just work as a traditional blacksmith, he also fully dresses the part, sporting a tan leather apron, suspenders, and a Civil War-era goatee. His traditional forge combines forced air and coal to produce an extremely hot fire to superheat his main working material, wrought iron, into a soft, workable condition. Most of the shaping is done on an anvil with various hammers, sledgehammers, tongs, and forming tools. His sons are following in his footsteps as well. A video of his son Alan working on the forge, helping his dad, even went viral, getting millions of views. Goodwin's blacksmithing business is called Axe and Anvil Handworks. He makes wall-mounted Frontier gun hooks, chest handles, stake flippers, drawing knives, and other assorted handcrafted tools. He obliges custom orders, large or small. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
A grassy courtyard enclosed by towering prison walls, topped with barbed wire and lit by a floodlight. In a Greek jail, inmates took to the stage.
Performing in front of friends, guests, and family, the performers are inmates at Greece's maximum security jail. The play is an ancient Greek tragedy called Antigone. It's a story about the law, free will, disobedience, and authority. For one short hour, the inmates felt free.
You escape. You come out of the prison ward,
and you talk about other things. You see another scene, you think differently, and you forget that you are in prison. You stop being in all this misery where you see only fences and walls, and where your time does not pass creatively.
The theater workshop at Corey Dallas Prison was a brief escape for 24 inmates from the mundane and often grueling routine of daily prison life in their crammed, rowdy cells.
In almost every rehearsal, it was like a dose of freedom, being able to leave the ward out of that commotion that is created in there, and to feel a small freedom.
The drama workshop launched in 2016, and around 250 prisoners have taken part in it. More than 1,800 have watched the performances.
I never thought I would be able to stand next to other people and perform a dialogue, and as it turns out, I was wrong. I like it a lot, and I would like to do it again if I get the chance.
The director of the performance said she was looking for something a person in confinement could identify with for this year's play.
The work was chosen on the principle that it would have a direct thematic interest with the conditions here. With confinement, the gist of the play is about laws, and unwritten laws, in other words, justice, law, and legality.
She said directing the group through the toughest period of their life was a huge source of hope.
After months of repairs, NASA's Voyager 1 space probe is back on track to continue its 50-year journey. Last week, the agency said the spacecraft has resumed its mission of gathering information about the universe.
This comes after Voyager 1 started sending back corrupted data last November. Engineers worked for months to troubleshoot the problem.
They eventually tracked the problem to a chip in the spacecraft's flight data system. Voyager 1 is now more than 15 billion miles away from Earth.
It was launched in 1977 along with its sister craft Voyager 2. They're now the longest operating and longest traveling spacecrafts in history.
Voyager 1 travels roughly 1 million miles per day. NASA expects it to continue its journey until at least early next year. And the Paris 2024 Summer Olympic Games are quickly approaching. This year, Ralph Lauren continues to be the official outfitter of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic teams.
This marks the 9th year for Polo Ralph Lauren, following partnerships in Beijing 2022 and 2008, Tokyo 2020, Pyeongchang 2018, Rio 2016, Sochi 2014, London 2012, and Vancouver 2010.
The U.S. brand designed the opening and closing ceremony uniforms apparel, as well as a selection of village wear apparel and accessories.
I mean, all the pieces are it's like so classic American Ralph Lauren, but they're so all unique. I really love the sweater actually up here. It's like your classic, the American flag sweater that Ralph Lauren is so well known for, but like with the Olympic ring, so I love that. And then also I love the closing ceremony outfit, it's so cool. I love racing, so it's a good jacket for that.
The collection represents a sporty and stylish spirit, featuring bold graphics, classic stripes, and color blocking, and a patriotic palette of red, white, and blue. The collection also includes varsity jackets, vintage-style tracksuits, and the iconic flag sweater.
The items will be available for purchase in the coming months, extending the spirit of the games to fans and supporters.
All right, for round-the-clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app.
And be sure to stick around for NTD Newsroom at 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll bring you more stories from the U.S. and around the world.